Welcome to Stoic Mastery, where we explore the timeless wisdom of Stoicism to help you navigate life's challenges with clarity, resilience, and purpose. Today, we're diving into an important yet often overlooked topic: how to identify and protect yourself from truly malevolent individuals. While most people aim to live harmoniously, there are those who seek to bring negativity, manipulation, and harm into the lives of others. Recognizing these individuals is essential for preserving your peace, safeguarding your values, and maintaining a sense of inner stability. The ancient Stoics, including philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, were not naive about human nature. They understood that there are people who can drain our energy, disturb our tranquility, and lead us away from our path to virtue. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate self-awareness, practice emotional resilience, and, most importantly, protect ourselves from toxic influences. By applying these principles, we can spot the warning signs of evil behavior and make thoughtful choices about who we allow into our lives. In this video, we'll go over 10 signs that may indicate you're dealing with a truly harmful person. These are red flags that the Stoics themselves would have recognized. From a lack of empathy to a tendency to manipulate, each of these traits reveals a pattern of behavior that can undermine your well-being if left unchecked. Armed with this knowledge, you can build a life filled with genuine, supportive connections and distance yourself from those who do not have your best interests at heart. So let's explore these 10 signs together and uncover the Stoic secrets to identifying and avoiding evil people in your life. Sign number 1, lack of empathy. One of the most telling signs that someone may have malevolent or harmful intentions is a lack of empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, a fundamental quality that allows us to connect, support, and genuinely care for the well-being of those around us. Without empathy, people are more likely to engage in behaviors that are self-centered, manipulative, and damaging to others. When a person consistently fails to show empathy, it's often an indication that they lack the basic moral compass that drives us to treat each other with kindness and respect. In the context of Stoicism, empathy may not be a term the ancient philosophers used directly, but they deeply valued compassion, understanding, and the recognition of shared human experiences. Marcus Aurelius, for example, emphasized the interconnectedness of humanity, noting that we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. This powerful imagery underscores a Stoic belief. Just as each part of the body works together in harmony, so too should people work together to uplift and support one another. A person who lacks empathy, however, is not interested in this cooperation. Instead, they view others as tools to be used for their own gain, or as obstacles to be discarded when no longer convenient. A lack of empathy manifests in various ways. You may notice that someone seems indifferent to the suffering of others, or even finds pleasure in it. They may dismiss or belittle the feelings of others, showing a complete disregard for the impact their actions have. For instance, when someone confides in them about a personal struggle, they may react with impatience, irritation, or even ridicule, instead of offering support or understanding. This cold, detached attitude signals that they do not view others as individuals with thoughts, emotions, and vulnerabilities, but rather as objects to manipulate or ignore. Additionally, people who lack empathy often avoid taking responsibility for their actions, especially when those actions hurt others. They are more likely to blame external factors or other people for their problems, and rarely show genuine remorse. While someone with empathy would feel regret after hurting someone, an individual without it may even justify their harmful behavior, seeing themselves as superior and above the moral standards that apply to others. This self-centered mindset is dangerous because it not only fuels their harmful actions, but also encourages them to repeat these actions without consideration for the pain they cause. In Stoic philosophy, emotional resilience and self-mastery are essential, but so is the recognition that we are part of a greater human family. We are all connected, and our actions ripple out to affect those around us. When a person lacks empathy, they disrupt this natural balance. They ignore the Stoic principle of living in harmony with others, which creates chaos, discord, and harm. Therefore, recognizing this sign is vital for anyone seeking to build a life aligned with Stoic values. Empathy is a cornerstone of healthy relationships, and a person who consistently lacks this quality is unlikely to contribute positively to your life. Sign number 2, constantly manipulative. Another clear sign that someone may be an evil or harmful individual is a tendency toward constant manipulation. Manipulation involves influencing or controlling others in a way that benefits the manipulator, often at the expense of the person being manipulated. Manipulative people use deceit, charm, and coercion to get what they want, regardless of the consequences for others. For them, relationships are not about genuine connection or mutual respect. They are about control and personal gain. When you encounter someone who consistently engages in this behavior, it's a red flag that they may not have honorable intentions. From a Stoic perspective, manipulation directly contradicts the principles of integrity, respect, and self-control. Stoicism teaches that we should strive to align our actions with virtue, treating others with honesty and fairness. Manipulative behavior, however, is rooted in deception and often involves exploiting others' weaknesses, fears, and desires to achieve a self-centered goal. This lack of integrity reveals a fundamental disregard for the well-being of others, as well as an unwillingness to respect people's autonomy. One of the most troubling aspects of manipulation is that it can be subtle, even difficult to detect, especially when the manipulator is skilled. They may use tactics like guilt-tripping, gaslighting, or even flattery to create a sense of obligation or doubt in their target's mind. For example, a manipulative person might make you feel guilty for setting boundaries by implying that you are being selfish or ungrateful. In doing so, they are trying to control your actions by making you feel responsible for their feelings or circumstances. This approach not only undermines your ability to make independent decisions, but also erodes your self-confidence over time. Gaslighting is another common manipulative tactic. This occurs when someone tries to make you question your own perception of reality. They may lie outright, deny things they previously said or did, or twist facts to create confusion. By doing so, they aim to destabilize your sense of self and make you more reliant on them for validation and guidance. This tactic is particularly insidious because it gradually strips you of your own perspective, making it harder to recognize the manipulative behavior for what it is. Flattery, though seemingly positive, can also be a tool for manipulation. Manipulative people may excessively praise or compliment you to build rapport and make you more receptive to their influence. This form of manipulation is often used to disarm people, creating a false sense of security and trust. Once they have you feeling comfortable, they may start to subtly steer you toward decisions that serve their interests. A person who uses charm and praise as a way to gain control, rather than as a reflection of genuine admiration or support, is likely to be manipulative. The Stoics taught that true strength and confidence come from within, rooted in one's character and values, not in the ability to control or deceive others. When we encounter people who habitually manipulate those around them, it's a signal that they lack a solid foundation of virtue and are instead driven by self-interest. Stoicism encourages us to foster relationships that are based on mutual respect, honesty, and shared values. Relationships built on manipulation and deceit, by contrast, are inherently unstable and harmful. Sign number 3, enjoyment in causing pain. One of the most disturbing signs that someone may be an evil or harmful individual is a perverse enjoyment in causing pain to others. This type of behavior goes beyond mere selfishness or indifference. It reflects a deeper, more troubling aspect of a person's character. While most people feel empathy or remorse when they see someone suffering, individuals who take pleasure in causing pain are driven by something darker. They may relish in the distress of others, whether it's emotional, psychological, or even physical. This is a red flag that indicates not only a lack of empathy, but also a malicious desire to bring harm to those around them. From a Stoic perspective, enjoying the suffering of others is fundamentally opposed to the virtues of compassion, respect, and a sense of shared humanity. Stoicism teaches us that we are all interconnected and that our actions should contribute to the harmony of society. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the idea that humans are social creatures, made to cooperate and support each other. When someone finds joy in hurting others, they undermine this essential aspect of human nature, and their actions create chaos rather than harmony. This enjoyment of causing pain can manifest in various ways. Sometimes it appears in subtle, insidious behaviors, such as bullying, belittling, or humiliating others in social situations. For instance, an individual might intentionally make cutting remarks to embarrass someone or undermine their confidence. They may laugh at others' misfortunes or take pleasure in pointing out others' mistakes. This behavior isn't limited to isolated incidents. It often reveals a consistent pattern. For these individuals, witnessing or causing discomfort becomes a source of personal gratification. In other cases, the enjoyment of causing pain may be more overt. A person may engage in acts of betrayal, intentionally hurting people who trust them or taking actions that they know will bring harm to others. They may manipulate situations to create conflict or sabotage the efforts of others to achieve success. When confronted, they may show no remorse and instead take satisfaction in the fallout of their actions. This willingness to harm others for personal gain or pleasure reflects a deep-rooted sense of cruelty and a lack of moral grounding. It's essential to recognize that people who enjoy causing pain often rationalize their behavior to themselves and to others. They may downplay the severity of their actions or blame the victim, suggesting that the person somehow deserved the mistreatment. This deflection is another sign of their lack of empathy, as they refuse to take responsibility for the damage they inflict. They may even twist situations to make themselves appear justified, portraying their actions as a response to being wronged or misunderstood. Stoicism teaches us to guard our inner tranquility and focus on what we can control. When we encounter someone who finds pleasure in others' suffering, it's a clear sign that this person poses a threat to our well-being and peace of mind. The Stoics advised us to avoid those who disrupt our sense of balance and harmony. Engaging with someone who enjoys causing pain can lead us down a path of turmoil and anxiety, detracting from our ability to cultivate a virtuous and fulfilling life. Sign number 4, hypocrisy and double standards. A key indicator of someone with potentially harmful or even malicious intentions is their tendency toward hypocrisy and double standards. This behavior is often rooted in a lack of integrity and a disregard for the principles of fairness and honesty. A person who consistently applies one set of rules to themselves while expecting others to adhere to a different, stricter standard is revealing a profound sense of entitlement and arrogance. They believe they are above the rules that others should follow, and this mindset can lead to manipulative, self-serving behaviors that are detrimental to those around them. In Stoicism, living a virtuous life is about aligning one's actions with a clear set of principles. The Stoics emphasized honesty, self-discipline, and a commitment to acting with integrity. Marcus Aurelius, for example, repeatedly urged himself to live in harmony with his own values, striving to embody the virtues he held dear. When someone behaves hypocritically, they are failing to live in alignment with any consistent values or moral code. Instead, they adopt whatever stance is most convenient or advantageous for them in the moment, showing a lack of respect for truth and virtue. Hypocritical people often display their double standards in subtle ways. For instance, they may criticize others for behaviors they themselves frequently engage in. They might lecture others about the importance of honesty while routinely lying or distorting the truth. Or they may hold others to impossibly high standards, expecting them to be perfect, while making excuses for their own shortcomings. This inconsistency is not only frustrating, but can also be harmful, as it creates an environment where people are constantly second-guessing themselves and feeling unfairly judged. Another aspect of hypocrisy is the tendency to judge others harshly while refusing to accept criticism or accountability for one's own actions. Hypocritical individuals often project an image of superiority, positioning themselves as morally or intellectually above others. When confronted with their own mistakes, however, They become defensive or dismissive, unwilling to acknowledge their flaws or take responsibility. This behavior is particularly damaging in relationships, as it erodes trust and creates a power imbalance. The Stoics taught that true strength lies in humility and self-reflection, yet hypocrites avoid these qualities, preferring to shield themselves from any form of personal growth or improvement. Hypocrisy and double standards also undermine the concept of justice, a fundamental Stoic virtue. Stoicism holds that we should treat others as equals and recognize our shared humanity. Hypocritical behavior contradicts this belief, as it implies that one person is somehow exempt from the principles that bind everyone else. This attitude breeds resentment and division, making it difficult to build genuine, trusting relationships. People who consistently exhibit double standards are likely to create toxic environments where others feel undervalued and exploited. For anyone committed to a Stoic path, recognizing and addressing hypocrisy is essential. The Stoics encourage us to hold ourselves accountable to the same standards we expect of others. By surrounding ourselves with people who live honestly and consistently, we can foster relationships based on mutual respect and trust. However, when we encounter individuals who demand one thing from others while doing the opposite themselves, it's a sign to tread carefully. Such people are often more interested in maintaining control and projecting an image of superiority than in building sincere connections. Sign number 5, excessive pride and arrogance. A clear sign that someone may have malevolent tendencies is their display of excessive pride and arrogance. While a healthy sense of self-worth is important, individuals who exhibit overbearing pride and arrogance often believe they are superior to others. This inflated sense of self-importance can lead them to treat people with disdain, dismiss others' perspectives, and act as if they are entitled to special treatment. Excessive pride can cloud judgment, erode empathy, and lead to behaviors that are harmful to those around them. From a Stoic perspective, pride and arrogance are obstacles to personal growth and harmony with others. Stoicism emphasizes humility, recognizing that we are all human and fallible. The Stoics taught that wisdom is understanding the limits of our own knowledge and abilities. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, constantly reminded himself of his mortality and the fleeting nature of life. He wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten the world, and soon the world will have forgotten you." This humble acknowledgement of one's place in the larger order of things is central to Stoic thought. Excessive pride and arrogance manifest in various ways. An arrogant person might dismiss or belittle the opinions of others, refusing to acknowledge any viewpoints that differ from their own. They may interrupt conversations to make everything about themselves, speaking over others as if only their thoughts and experiences matter. In social situations, they often dominate conversations, steering the focus onto their achievements or status. When faced with constructive criticism, they react defensively or with contempt, unwilling to entertain the possibility that they could be wrong. Moreover, prideful individuals tend to believe that rules do not apply to them. They see themselves as exceptional, deserving special treatment, and above the moral or ethical codes that guide others. For instance, they might disregard rules or social norms, assuming that their actions are justified by their unique position or abilities. This attitude reveals a fundamental lack of respect for others and a disregard for the common values that foster trust and cooperation in society. By setting themselves apart in this way, they create distance between themselves and those around them, making it difficult for others to build genuine connections with them. The Stoics warned that excessive pride is a weakness, not a strength. It blinds people to their flaws and prevents them from learning and growing. Seneca observed that no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. When someone is overly prideful, they often avoid situations where they might fail or be challenged, as this would expose them to vulnerability. Ironically, by avoiding these situations, they deprive themselves of the opportunity for true self-improvement. Stoicism teaches that we should embrace challenges and setbacks as opportunities to develop resilience and humility. People with excessive pride and arrogance often lack empathy and compassion, as they see others as inferior or unworthy of their consideration. They may dismiss others' feelings or needs, viewing them as irrelevant. This lack of compassion can lead to harmful behavior, as they are more focused on maintaining their own image of superiority than on building meaningful, supportive relationships. Over time, their arrogance can isolate them, as others recognize the negative impact of their behavior and choose to distance themselves. Sign number 6. Unpredictability and volatile behavior. Another significant sign that someone may be a harmful or toxic presence in your life is their tendency toward unpredictability and volatile behavior. People who exhibit these traits often switch moods rapidly, react unpredictably, and are prone to extreme emotional outbursts. This erratic behavior can leave those around them feeling constantly on edge, unsure of how to act or what to expect next. Living or interacting with someone who is volatile can be mentally exhausting and damaging to one's well-being. Stoicism, with its emphasis on tranquility, resilience, and emotional stability, provides a useful lens through which to understand and address these behaviors. The Stoics valued calmness, rationality, and emotional control. They believed that true power lies in the ability to govern one's emotions rather than being controlled by them. Epictetus taught that while we may not be able to control external events or how others behave, we can control our reactions. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca practiced self-restraint and encouraged others to develop a steady and balanced disposition, as this cultivates inner peace and protects against the chaos of external circumstances. Volatile individuals, however, embody the opposite of these ideals. Their lack of emotional control creates turmoil, not just within themselves but also in the lives of those around them. Unpredictable and volatile people may display sudden outbursts of anger, frustration, or sadness, often without any clear trigger. One moment, they may seem calm and agreeable, and the next, they may lash out in a fit of rage. This instability can make interactions with them feel like walking on eggshells, as you never know what will set them off. In relationships, whether personal or professional, this volatility can erode trust and stability. You may find yourself constantly second-guessing your words or actions, afraid that anything you say might provoke an emotional explosion. Another troubling aspect of volatile behavior is that it can be used as a tool for manipulation. Some individuals may intentionally use their mood swings to keep others off balance, creating a sense of control. By making others feel uneasy and uncertain, they can dominate interactions and situations. For example, they may respond unpredictably to the same behavior on different days, leading others to constantly seek their approval or avoid conflict. This tactic keeps those around them in a state of confusion, which ultimately serves to isolate the individual and maintain their power over others. Moreover, unpredictability and volatility disrupt any attempts at constructive communication or problem-solving. People who are volatile often react impulsively, without taking time to consider the consequences of their actions or the perspectives of others. This impulsivity leads to misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and unresolved issues, as they are unable to engage in calm, rational discussions. In the long term, this behavior is exhausting for those around them, as it prevents any sense of stability or growth in relationships. Instead, the constant ups and downs create a toxic environment, where conflict and stress are a daily occurrence. From a Stoic viewpoint, living in harmony means seeking relationships with individuals who are capable of reasoned, consistent, and stable behavior. Stoicism teaches that we should strive for equanimity, cultivating a steady mind that remains undisturbed by external turbulence. Interacting with someone who is unpredictable and prone to volatility can jeopardize your own emotional balance and make it difficult to focus on your personal growth and well-being. Recognizing these traits in others allows you to set boundaries, minimizing the impact their behavior has on your life. Sign number 7, blaming others for their problems. One of the clearest signs of a potentially toxic or harmful person is their tendency to blame others for their problems. People who constantly deflect responsibility and refuse to acknowledge their own role in their difficulties often exhibit a lack of accountability. This behavior can create a toxic environment as they continuously project their issues onto others, leading to unnecessary conflict, resentment, and frustration. From a Stoic perspective, taking responsibility for one's actions is essential for personal growth and harmony in relationships. Individuals who fail to do so often disrupt this balance, causing harm to themselves and those around them. The Stoics believe strongly in the importance of self-reflection and accountability. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what we can control, our actions, responses, and thoughts, while accepting what we cannot control. By blaming others, an individual demonstrates an unwillingness to take responsibility for what is within their control. This lack of self-awareness is a major obstacle to personal development and goes against the Stoic principle of self-mastery. When someone habitually blames others for their problems, they avoid the hard work of introspection and growth, instead choosing to live in denial. People who constantly shift blame are often quick to point fingers whenever something goes wrong. They may accuse their friends, family, or colleagues of being the cause of their misfortune, making excuses for their own shortcomings. For example, they might blame a failed project at work on a coworker's incompetence, rather than recognizing their own lack of preparation. Or they might blame their relationship issues entirely on their partner, refusing to acknowledge any mistakes they may have made. This unwillingness to take responsibility can lead to a victim mentality, where they perceive themselves as perpetually wronged by others and see no reason to change their behavior. Blaming others for one's problems also damages relationships over time. This behavior erodes trust, as it shows a lack of integrity and maturity. When someone constantly refuses to admit fault or accept responsibility, it creates an imbalance in the relationship. The people around them are left feeling frustrated, as they are unfairly held accountable for issues that may not be their fault. Over time, this erodes respect and goodwill, and others may start to distance themselves to avoid the negativity. In addition to harming relationships, a refusal to take responsibility also hinders personal growth. By constantly blaming others, these individuals deny themselves the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. Growth requires self-awareness and the ability to recognize one's own weaknesses. Stoicism teaches that we should view challenges and setbacks as opportunities to become better, stronger individuals. People who deflect responsibility, however, miss these opportunities as they fail to see their own role in the situations they encounter. Instead of learning, they remain stuck in a cycle of blame, avoiding the self-reflection needed for true improvement. For those practicing Stoicism, it's important to recognize this behavior in others and understand its effects. By identifying this sign, you can make conscious choices about who you allow into your life. Surrounding yourself with people who take responsibility for their actions and approach life with integrity can help you maintain your own sense of inner peace. Conversely, engaging with individuals who constantly blame others may draw you into their negativity, impacting your well-being and distracting you from your own path. Sign number 8, constant lies and deception. A person who constantly lies and engages in deception is another clear sign of a potentially harmful or toxic individual. Habitual dishonesty reflects a fundamental lack of integrity and respect for the truth, and it can have a corrosive effect on relationships and communities. For those striving to live by Stoic principles, honesty is a key virtue, as it fosters trust, understanding, and meaningful connections. When someone consistently lies, they disrupt these essential elements and create an environment filled with doubt and confusion. The Stoics valued honesty as a core component of a virtuous life. Seneca, for instance, argued that one's character and words should align, with no contradiction between what a person says and how they act. This integrity is essential for building a stable and harmonious life. Lies, on the other hand, breed chaos. When someone deceives others regularly, they create a reality based on falsehoods, which ultimately collapses. Living in alignment with the truth is crucial for personal peace and healthy relationships. In contrast, individuals who engage in constant lying are often more focused on self-interest, regardless of the harm they inflict on others. Lying and deception can take many forms. Some people lie to exaggerate their achievements, attempting to create a false impression of success or capability. Others may lie to avoid responsibility or deflect blame, weaving a web of deceit to protect their image. Still, others use deception to manipulate people, steering situations to their advantage by withholding or distorting information. In all cases, lying serves as a tool to control others, maintain a facade, or avoid the discomfort of facing reality. One of the most damaging aspects of habitual lying is the impact it has on trust. Trust is the foundation of all healthy relationships, whether personal or professional. When someone lies repeatedly, they erode the trust others have in them, creating an environment of suspicion and uncertainty. Once trust is broken, it can be difficult to repair. People may begin to question the sincerity of everything that person says, even when they are being truthful. This doubt can lead to misunderstandings, resentment, and a breakdown of communication. In a workplace or family setting, habitual deception can disrupt teamwork and create a toxic atmosphere where people are constantly second-guessing each other's motives. Additionally, habitual liars often suffer from a lack of self-awareness. By constantly bending the truth, they may start to believe their own falsehoods, losing touch with reality. This disconnect from the truth can hinder personal growth, as they are unable to confront their own weaknesses or failures honestly. Stoicism teaches that self-reflection and honesty are vital for improvement. People who deceive others frequently deny themselves this opportunity for growth. Instead of learning from their mistakes, they become entangled in a cycle of deceit, avoiding the self-examination necessary for meaningful change. For those committed to living a Stoic life, recognizing the signs of deception in others is crucial. Interacting with someone who frequently lies can drain your energy, diminish your own sense of clarity, and compromise your inner peace. By identifying this behavior, you can make informed choices about the people you allow into your life and set boundaries to protect yourself from their dishonesty. Sign number 9, lack of remorse or guilt. One of the most alarming signs that someone may be a harmful or toxic presence in your life is their lack of remorse or guilt. People who consistently fail to show regret for their actions, even when they have clearly caused harm, reveal a troubling aspect of their character. This lack of conscience is a red flag that suggests they are unwilling or unable to recognize the impact of their behavior on others. For those committed to a Stoic path, cultivating self-awareness and accountability are essential components of a virtuous life. A person who lacks remorse not only disregards these principles, but also disrupts the harmony and well-being of those around them. The Stoics believed that reflection and accountability are vital for personal growth. Epictetus, for example, emphasized the importance of examining one's own actions and seeking improvement. He taught that a wise person would feel regret when they stray from virtue, as this acknowledgement allows them to learn and avoid making the same mistakes in the future. A lack of remorse, however, indicates a lack of this self-reflective quality. People who never experience guilt or regret are often unable to understand the consequences of their actions, making them likely to repeat harmful behaviors without any desire to change. A person lacking in remorse may engage in a variety of harmful actions, such as lying, manipulating, or hurting others, and show no signs of guilt afterward. When confronted, they may respond with indifference, denial, or even blame the victim. For example, they might say, "You're overreacting," or "It's your fault for feeling that way," deflecting any responsibility. This response not only invalidates the feelings of those affected, but also prevents any meaningful resolution. The Stoics teach that we should take ownership of our actions and strive to make amends when we cause harm. Without remorse, a person remains closed off from this essential process of healing and growth. Another troubling aspect of a lack of remorse is its impact on relationships. People who do not feel guilt often act in ways that are self-centered and callous, placing their own needs above those of others. They may break promises, lie, or betray trust without hesitation, as they are not bound by a sense of accountability. Over time, this behavior erodes trust and undermines the foundations of any relationship. Friends, family members, and colleagues may begin to feel disrespected, hurt, and ultimately disconnected from someone who shows no regard for the damage they cause. The Stoics also believed that a person's actions have a ripple effect, influencing not only their own lives but also the lives of those around them. A person who lacks remorse fails to consider this interconnectedness. They act as if they are isolated from others, blind to the emotional harm they inflict. This disregard for others can lead to a toxic environment where people are constantly on guard, anticipating the next hurtful action or betrayal. For those practicing Stoicism, recognizing this sign in others is essential to protect one's own peace and well-being. A person who lacks remorse can disrupt your life, creating an atmosphere of mistrust and emotional turmoil. By identifying this trait, you can make informed decisions about how to engage with such individuals and set boundaries to safeguard your emotional health. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate relationships based on mutual respect, empathy, and a shared commitment to virtue. Interacting with someone who lacks remorse not only contradicts these values, but can also prevent you from achieving the tranquility and inner harmony that Stoicism advocates. Sign number 10, isolation tactics. One of the most insidious signs of a potentially harmful person is their use of isolation tactics. Individuals who engage in this behavior often try to cut their victims off from friends, family, and other support systems. By doing so, they make their targets more dependent on them, ultimately gaining greater control. Isolation tactics are a form of manipulation that can have serious emotional and psychological consequences for the person on the receiving end. Recognizing these tactics is essential to protect one's autonomy, well-being, and sense of self. From a Stoic perspective, isolation tactics go against the values of independence and resilience. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of maintaining inner strength, self-reliance, and a balanced perspective, which are all challenged when someone is deprived of their support network. When a person is cut off from the influence of other trusted people in their lives, they become more susceptible to manipulation and emotional abuse. The Stoics would have advocated for surrounding oneself with positive influences that reinforce a virtuous, self-disciplined life. Therefore, anyone who attempts to isolate you from these influences is actively working against your well-being. Isolation tactics can manifest in various ways. A person using this tactic might begin by subtly criticizing your friends and family, pointing out their supposed flaws or claiming that they don't truly care about you. They may sow seeds of doubt, suggesting that those close to you are jealous, unsupportive, or harmful. Over time, these comments can create a sense of mistrust, causing you to pull away from people you once relied on. This process is often gradual, as the manipulator carefully plants doubts that grow over time, slowly separating you from your support system. Another form of isolation tactic involves creating situations in which your loved ones are excluded. For example, the manipulator might discourage you from spending time with family or friends, using guilt or other forms of emotional pressure. They might say things like, "I thought you cared about spending time with me," or "I feel like you don't appreciate everything I do for you." By positioning themselves as the only person who truly understands or supports you, they create a sense of dependence, making it more difficult for you to seek outside perspectives. This isolation not only increases their control over you, but also diminishes your confidence in your own judgment. Isolation tactics can also include more direct actions, such as monitoring or restricting your communications. For instance, a manipulator might demand access to your phone or social media accounts, using the excuse that trust should mean no secrets. They may become angry or suspicious when you communicate with others without their knowledge. By restricting your ability to maintain other relationships, they reinforce their position as your sole source of support, making it harder for you to see the situation clearly or seek help. The Stoics teach us to recognize and maintain our personal boundaries and to avoid those who attempt to undermine our autonomy. In a relationship where isolation tactics are present, it's essential to reconnect with your support network and seek out those who encourage your growth and independence. If someone actively discourages you from maintaining connections with others, it's a red flag that they may be attempting to control you. Recognizing these 10 signs of potentially harmful or malevolent behavior can help protect your well-being and bring greater harmony to your life. The Stoics taught us to cultivate self-awareness, resilience, and discernment, emphasizing that we must be mindful of the influences we allow into our lives. By identifying traits like lack of empathy, manipulation, arrogance, and isolation tactics, you can take proactive steps to set boundaries and surround yourself with people who genuinely uplift and support you. Living a life aligned with Stoic principles means striving for inner peace, integrity, and personal growth. Harmful individuals disrupt these goals, making it harder to stay true to your values. But by understanding and recognizing these warning signs, you can protect your peace and foster a life filled with positive, meaningful relationships. Remember, it's within your control to choose who you let into your inner circle. Seek out individuals who respect your autonomy, encourage your growth, and help you live a virtuous life. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit from these insights. Today, we will explore the fascinating art of understanding people on a deeper level through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Imagine if you could walk into a room and instantly read the thoughts, emotions, and motivations of those around you. While we may not have supernatural powers, the Stoics taught us something just as powerful: how to observe and understand human nature with profound clarity. The Stoics were masters of perception. They believed that by sharpening our awareness, we could see the world and the people in it more truthfully. Through careful observation, empathy, and introspection, we can learn to pick up on the subtle cues and patterns that reveal the inner lives of others. In this video, you will learn how to easily read people's minds with 15 Stoic lessons, not by magic, but by cultivating a deeper understanding of human behavior. Whether you're in a business meeting, a social gathering, or just spending time with friends, these Stoic strategies can enhance your ability to connect, communicate, and empathize. The Stoics knew that true insight into others begins with self-mastery. By learning to silence your inner noise and observe without judgment, you can see others for who they truly are and understand what drives them. Through these 15 lessons, you'll discover how to listen deeply, notice unspoken signals, and interpret people's actions with a Stoic lens. The result? A powerful ability to read people in ways that go beyond words. Let's start the journey to sharpen your mind, enhance your awareness, and gain a Stoic's insight into the minds of others. Lesson 1. Pay attention to body language. In any interaction, people are constantly communicating, often without saying a word. Stoicism teaches us to observe and understand these subtle signals, which are frequently expressed through body language. While we might focus on what people say, the Stoics understood that actions, and even more so physical expressions, often reveal much more about a person's thoughts, feelings, and intentions. To truly understand someone, start by tuning in to their body language. Notice their posture, gestures, facial expressions, and eye movements. Are they open and relaxed, or closed off and tense? A person's posture can indicate their comfort level and openness. For example, if someone is leaning forward and maintaining eye contact, they're likely engaged and interested. Conversely, if they're crossing their arms, looking away, or positioning themselves at a distance, they may be feeling defensive, uncomfortable, or disinterested. Facial expressions can also be incredibly revealing. The Stoics emphasize the importance of awareness and presence, and this begins with careful observation. Notice micro-expressions, those fleeting facial expressions that reveal true emotions, even if only for a split second. A slight frown, a raised eyebrow, or a forced smile can give away feelings of doubt, surprise, or discomfort, even when someone's words convey something entirely different. By paying attention to these small details, you'll gain insight into their genuine emotions. Eye contact is another crucial element. The eyes are often referred to as the windows to the soul because they can convey a range of emotions without any words at all. In Stoicism, eye contact is a way to connect with another person, to be present and to understand. Notice if someone maintains steady eye contact, which generally indicates confidence and honesty, or if their eyes are shifting or avoiding yours, which can signal nervousness or even dishonesty. The Stoics believed in seeing things as they truly are, and by focusing on someone's eyes, you can often glimpse their unspoken truths. Finally, take note of gestures. Are their hand movements calm and controlled, or are they fidgeting and restless? Fidgeting can be a sign of nervousness or impatience, while controlled gestures often reflect a calm and composed state of mind. As you observe, try not to jump to conclusions. Instead, let each detail contribute to a fuller picture of the person's current state. In practicing this Stoic lesson, remember to stay present, observe without judgment, and remain open to understanding. With time, you'll develop an intuitive sense of what people are feeling and thinking, not by reading their minds in the literal sense, but by reading the language of their bodies. Lesson 2. Listen more than you speak. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the art of listening. The Stoics believed that true wisdom begins not with speaking, but with listening. Epictetus famously remarked, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This statement is as relevant today as it was in ancient times. In a world filled with noise where everyone seems eager to share their opinions, listening has become a rare skill, and one that can give you profound insights into the minds of others. When we listen deeply, we're not just hearing words, we're tuning into the emotions, intentions, and underlying meanings that words often conceal. People will reveal much more than they intend when given the space to talk freely. To practice this lesson, start by making a conscious effort to listen fully during your conversations. Rather than waiting for your turn to speak or thinking about what you'll say next, focus entirely on what the other person is saying. This means maintaining eye contact, nodding occasionally to show understanding, and allowing brief moments of silence so the speaker feels encouraged to continue. Listening in this way not only provides insights into others, but also builds trust and rapport. When someone feels truly heard, they're more likely to open up and share even more. The Stoics understood that people crave connection and understanding, and one of the best ways to provide this is by being a good listener. Notice the tone, pace, and volume of their speech. Are they speaking quickly, as if anxious or rushed? Or are they speaking slowly, suggesting thoughtfulness or calm? Pay attention to their choice of words as well. Are they positive, negative, or neutral? Do they focus on the past, present, or future? These subtle clues can reveal a lot about a person's state of mind. Additionally, try to listen without judgment. The Stoics taught that to see the world clearly, we must let go of our biases and preconceptions. When you listen to someone, resist the urge to categorize, judge, or compare. Instead, practice empathy. Imagine what the world looks like from their perspective and try to understand the emotions behind their words. This practice not only deepens your understanding of others, but also strengthens your own character. Finally, recognize that listening is a powerful tool for personal growth. By spending less time talking and more time listening, you'll gain valuable insights, not just into others, but also into yourself. You'll start to notice patterns in people's thoughts and behaviors, allowing you to navigate social situations with greater awareness and compassion. So, the next time you're in a conversation, remember, listen twice as much as you speak, and you'll be on the path to a deeper Stoic understanding of others. Lesson 3. Watch for patterns. The Stoics believed in observing human behavior to understand its deeper meanings, and one of the most effective ways to do this is by looking for patterns. People often reveal their true selves not in isolated actions but in consistent behaviors over time. By recognizing these patterns, you can develop a more accurate understanding of who they are, what they value, and how they're likely to behave in the future. The first step is to notice how someone responds to various situations. For example, do they react with anger whenever things don't go their way? Are they consistently patient and calm under pressure? These recurring behaviors provide insights into their character. According to Stoicism, character is the core of a person, and it manifests repeatedly in similar ways. By observing and identifying these patterns, you can understand the principles and motivations that drive someone's actions. Pay attention to how they interact with others as well. Notice how they treat people in different positions. Do they show kindness and respect to everyone? Or are they only friendly when it benefits them? This can reveal a lot about their values and priorities. The Stoics emphasize the importance of treating others with dignity and respect, regardless of status, and by observing someone's consistent behavior toward others, you can gauge whether they hold similar values. Furthermore, consider their communication style. Do they tend to focus on the positive or the negative? Are they prone to exaggeration, or do they prefer honesty and directness? By noticing how they communicate over time, you can start to understand their worldview. The Stoics believed that understanding human nature involves seeing people as they are, not as we wish them to be. By accepting and observing these recurring traits, you can approach interactions with a more realistic and balanced perspective. Identifying patterns also means paying attention to the decisions they make. Do they frequently take risks, or are they more cautious and conservative? Are they dependable, or do they often make promises they fail to keep? These patterns provide insights into their priorities and how they approach life. Remember, the Stoics believed that our actions reflect our values, and by observing someone's repeated choices, you can gain a clearer picture of what matters most to them. Lastly, be mindful of how you respond to these patterns. The Stoics teach us to remain objective and avoid jumping to conclusions based on isolated incidents. Instead, cultivate patience and watch how these behaviors unfold over time. Avoid judgment and let the patterns speak for themselves. This will allow you to develop a more accurate, Stoic understanding of those around you. In doing so, you'll not only understand others better, but also cultivate a sense of calm and clarity in your interactions, seeing people as they truly are through the lens of their own repeated actions. Lesson 4. Recognize universal motivations. One of the key insights of Stoicism is that while people may appear vastly different on the surface, we are all driven by a set of universal motivations. The Stoics believed that understanding these shared human desires can help us empathize with others and see their actions in a clearer light. Recognizing these universal motivations allows us to move past superficial differences and connect with people on a deeper level. At the core, human beings are motivated by certain fundamental needs: the desire for happiness, security, respect, and love. These motivations shape our actions, often without us realizing it. By acknowledging these shared motivations, you can better understand why people behave the way they do. Instead of seeing someone's behavior as confusing or irrational, you can view it through the lens of these universal drives. Consider someone who constantly seeks approval from others. While their actions might seem needy or insecure, this behavior often stems from a basic human need for acceptance and validation. Rather than judging them for it, Stoicism teaches us to see this as an expression of a shared desire to feel valued. By recognizing this, you can approach the person with greater compassion and understanding. The desire for security is another powerful motivator. Many of us make decisions based on a need for physical or emotional safety. People may act defensively, avoid risks, or seek control over their environment because they fear the unknown or potential threats. When you observe these behaviors, remember that they are often rooted in a natural human desire for security. Understanding this can help you respond more patiently and empathetically, rather than feeling frustrated or perplexed by their actions. The Stoics also emphasize that the pursuit of happiness drives much of human behavior. While each person's definition of happiness may differ, the underlying motivation is the same. Some people chase wealth, others seek pleasure, and some devote themselves to personal growth or helping others. By recognizing that everyone is in some way pursuing what they believe will bring them happiness, you can see their actions in a more Stoic, non-judgmental light. Finally, remember that these universal motivations often manifest in different ways depending on a person's background, experiences, and personality. The Stoics taught that by focusing on the fundamental motivations behind people's actions, we can better understand their choices, even when they differ from our own. This understanding allows us to approach others with empathy and a sense of shared humanity. In practicing this lesson, observe the motivations behind people's actions without making assumptions. The Stoics believed that empathy and understanding arise from seeing others as fellow travelers on the path of life, driven by the same basic needs and desires. By embracing this perspective, you can cultivate a deeper understanding of those around you and strengthen your connection with the world on a fundamental, human level. Lesson 5. Practice empathy without judgment. Empathy lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. While the Stoics emphasized self-discipline and rationality, they also understood the importance of compassion and understanding toward others. Practicing empathy without judgment allows us to see people as they are, not as we wish them to be. This approach provides a foundation for better relationships, clearer perceptions, and a more harmonious life. To begin practicing empathy without judgment, Start by recognizing that everyone you meet is dealing with challenges you may know nothing about. The Stoics taught that each person carries a unique set of struggles, fears, and hopes. By acknowledging this, you can approach others with a sense of openness and compassion. Rather than jumping to conclusions about their behavior, take a step back and try to imagine the circumstances that may have led them to act as they do. Empathy without judgment involves listening to people with an open mind. When someone expresses an opinion or shares an experience, resist the urge to immediately form an opinion or compare it to your own experiences. Instead, simply listen. By suspending judgment, you allow yourself to understand their perspective more fully. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them or adopt their point of view. It simply means that you're allowing space for their reality to exist alongside your own. The Stoics believed that judgments cloud our perception and lead to unnecessary emotional turmoil. When we judge others harshly, we often project our own insecurities, biases, or unresolved issues onto them. Practicing empathy helps to break this cycle, as it encourages us to see people more objectively. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whenever someone does wrong by you, remember that they are acting according to their own beliefs and desires." By understanding this, you can separate the person from their actions and respond with calmness and insight. When you practice empathy without judgment, you also cultivate greater inner peace. The Stoics taught that anger, resentment, and frustration arise when we impose our expectations on others. By choosing empathy instead, you allow others to be themselves and free yourself from the burden of holding unrealistic expectations. This shift in perspective not only strengthens your connections with others, but also promotes a sense of tranquility within yourself. To integrate this Stoic lesson into your daily life, approach each interaction with the intention of understanding rather than judging. Ask questions, listen carefully, and remind yourself that each person has a unique path. As you cultivate empathy, you'll discover a deeper connection to the people around you and a greater sense of inner balance. The Stoics believed that this kind of understanding enriches our lives, helping us to live harmoniously and wisely in a world filled with diverse perspectives and experiences. Lesson 6. Separate your biases. In Stoic philosophy, one of the essential practices for clear thinking and understanding is the ability to recognize and separate your biases. Biases, whether conscious or unconscious, color our perceptions and lead us to make assumptions about people and situations that may not reflect reality. To understand others accurately, the Stoics taught us to strip away these preconceived notions and observe with an open, objective mind. Biases can take many forms. They may be based on past experiences, personal preferences, cultural conditioning, or emotional responses. For instance, you might have a tendency to favor people who remind you of friends or family, or you might distrust those who display characteristics you associate with past negative experiences. While these reactions are natural, the Stoics believed that they often prevent us from seeing things as they truly are. By learning to recognize and separate these biases, we gain clarity and improve our ability to understand others. To begin, cultivate awareness of your own biases. When you meet someone new, pay attention to the immediate judgments you make. Are you forming opinions based on superficial traits like appearance, tone of voice, or even where they're from? Acknowledge these judgments without criticizing yourself. The goal is not to be free of biases, but to become aware of them so they don't control your perceptions. Marcus Aurelius encouraged self-reflection as a way to cultivate this awareness, urging us to examine our thoughts and reactions to understand the influences behind them. Once you recognize a bias, make an active effort to set it aside. Remind yourself that everyone has their own unique story, and that the judgments you bring into the interaction may distort your understanding. In practice, this means consciously approaching each person and situation as if you know nothing about them. Imagine yourself as an observer with a clean slate, open to whatever unfolds. This mindset aligns with the Stoic principle of ataraxia, or tranquility, as it frees you from the turmoil of unnecessary assumptions. Separating your biases also involves practicing empathy and humility. The Stoics understood that we all have limited perspectives, and that true wisdom lies in acknowledging this limitation. When you let go of the need to impose your views on others, you create space for genuine understanding and connection. Instead of forcing others into preconceived categories, you allow them to reveal themselves on their own terms. In your daily life, make it a habit to question your initial impressions and seek a fuller picture before drawing conclusions. Over time, you'll find that you're able to interact with others more openly and respond with greater calmness and insight. By practicing this Stoic lesson of separating your biases, you'll enhance your perception, improve your relationships, and cultivate a more objective, peaceful mind. Lesson 7. Read between the lines. The Stoics believed that true understanding often lies beyond what is explicitly stated. To read people effectively, it's essential to learn how to read between the lines, to perceive the emotions, thoughts, and intentions that words alone may not reveal. In daily interactions, people often communicate indirectly, whether intentionally or not. By tuning into these subtleties, you can gain a deeper insight into their state of mind, allowing you to respond more effectively and empathetically. To start reading between the lines, pay attention to nonverbal cues. Notice the tone of voice, pacing, and volume. For example, someone might say they're fine, but if their voice is strained or their tone lacks energy, it could suggest they're struggling or unhappy. Similarly, if someone is speaking quickly, they may be anxious or nervous. If they speak slowly and deliberately, it may indicate that they're processing something serious or sensitive. The Stoics teach us to be present and attentive in our observations. So by actively listening to how people speak, you're practicing a Stoic approach to understanding others. Another important aspect of reading between the lines is noticing what is left unsaid. People often avoid discussing certain topics or downplay their significance, especially when they feel vulnerable or uncertain. The Stoics encourage us to be sensitive to these gaps in communication. If a friend constantly shifts the topic when discussing their family, or hesitates when talking about work, it might indicate an underlying issue. By recognizing these subtle avoidance tactics, you can approach the person with compassion and offer support without prying. Additionally, observe the contrast between words and actions. The Stoics placed great value on consistency and integrity, noting that our actions often speak louder than our words. If someone frequently talks about valuing honesty but avoids direct answers or frequently makes excuses, there may be a disconnect between their stated values and their behavior. Noticing this incongruity can help you understand their true priorities and motivations. The Stoics also taught that we should avoid making assumptions or quick judgments based on surface-level information. Reading between the lines means cultivating patience and allowing others to reveal themselves over time. Instead of jumping to conclusions about someone's intentions or feelings, observe their behavior over multiple interactions. Consistent patterns in their communication, both verbal and nonverbal, can provide a clearer picture than any single conversation. Practicing this lesson requires a willingness to listen deeply and observe with an open mind. As you sharpen your ability to read between the lines, you'll not only gain greater insight into others, but also strengthen your capacity for empathy and understanding. In this way, the Stoic practice of reading between the lines becomes a tool for connection, allowing you to engage with people in a more authentic and meaningful way. Lesson 8. Ask open-ended questions. One of the most effective ways to understand others, as the Stoics might advise, is to ask open-ended questions. Unlike yes or no questions, open-ended questions encourage people to share more about their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. They create a space where people feel free to express themselves fully, often revealing insights they may not have shared otherwise. This approach not only deepens your understanding of others but also builds rapport and trust. Open-ended questions invite elaboration, allowing you to move beyond surface-level conversations. For example, instead of asking, "Did you like the meeting?" you might ask, "What did you think about the meeting?" This subtle shift encourages the other person to provide a more thoughtful and nuanced response. In a Stoic sense, asking questions in this way aligns with the philosophy's emphasis on listening, observing, and understanding without rushing to judgment. The Stoics valued curiosity and believed that wisdom comes from a genuine desire to understand others. When you ask open-ended questions, you signal that you're interested in the other person's perspective and willing to listen without imposing your own views. This aligns with the Stoic principle of seeing the world through the eyes of others. By giving people the opportunity to speak freely, you not only learn more about them, but also gain a clearer understanding of human nature in general. Asking open-ended questions also allows you to identify underlying motivations and emotions. For example, asking someone, "What do you enjoy most about your work?" can lead them to share their passions, goals, or even frustrations. It opens a pathway for them to discuss what drives them, what challenges they face, and what they value. These deeper insights are invaluable in understanding others, helping you respond with empathy and a Stoic detachment from assumptions. To incorporate this Stoic lesson into your daily life, approach conversations with the mindset of a learner. Remember that everyone you meet knows something you don't. Use open-ended questions to tap into that knowledge. For instance, questions like, "How do you feel about?" or "What are your thoughts on?" can draw out richer responses than more direct or closed questions. As the Stoics would advocate, listen carefully to the answers, observing not just the words but also the tone, body language, and emotional cues that accompany them. Finally, practice asking open-ended questions without an agenda. True Stoic inquiry comes from a place of curiosity and a desire to understand, not from a need to steer the conversation or lead someone toward a particular answer. When you create a space where people feel heard and valued, you build stronger connections, foster trust, and enhance your ability to see the world from multiple perspectives. Over time, you'll find that this approach helps you develop a deeper Stoic appreciation for the complexities of human experience, while also enriching your relationships. Lesson 9. Observe reactions to adversity. The Stoics believe that true character is often revealed in times of difficulty. When things are going smoothly, it's easy for people to appear calm, composed, and kind. But it's when adversity strikes that a person's true nature comes to light. Observing how someone responds to challenges, whether it's a minor inconvenience or a major setback, can provide profound insights into their values, resilience, and self-control. This lesson aligns with the Stoic emphasis on facing challenges with equanimity and viewing hardships as opportunities for growth. To start, pay attention to how someone reacts to small frustrations. For instance, how do they handle delays, unexpected changes, or mistakes? Do they remain patient, or do they react with anger or blame? These seemingly minor reactions can reveal underlying attitudes and habits. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of maintaining a calm, steady demeanor in the face of irritations, as it reflects an inner strength and self-mastery. When you observe someone managing small adversities with grace, it often indicates a capacity for handling larger challenges in a similar way. Likewise, how someone responds to significant challenges can reveal their core beliefs and priorities. When faced with failure, do they learn from the experience, or do they become discouraged and give up? Stoicism teaches that setbacks are part of life and that our response to them shapes our character. A person who uses adversity as a learning experience demonstrates a Stoic resilience, while someone who collapses under pressure may lack the tools to navigate life's inevitable difficulties. Also, observe how people treat others during challenging times. Do they become withdrawn, or do they reach out for support and show gratitude? The Stoics believed in the interconnectedness of humanity, and often reminded themselves that they are part of a larger community. Someone who helps others in times of trouble or seeks to maintain positive relationships despite their own struggles exemplifies Stoic virtues of kindness and compassion. On the other hand, those who become dismissive or hostile when facing difficulties may have a more self-centered outlook. Furthermore, notice whether they blame others or take responsibility for their actions. The Stoics taught the importance of owning one's responses to external events. A person who accepts accountability and focuses on solutions rather than assigning blame demonstrates maturity and self-discipline. Observing how someone deals with blame and responsibility provides insight into their sense of personal integrity and resilience. Finally, remember to practice non-judgmental observation. The Stoics taught that we should observe others to understand, not to criticize or feel superior. Everyone reacts to adversity differently, shaped by their unique experiences and inner struggles. By observing these responses with compassion and curiosity, you not only deepen your understanding of others but also strengthen your own Stoic mindset, learning valuable lessons from the resilience or weaknesses of those around you. Lesson 10. Be present in every interaction. One of the essential teachings of Stoicism is the importance of presence. To truly understand others, you need to be fully present in your interactions, giving your complete attention to the person before you. The Stoics believe that living in the present moment is key to a balanced and meaningful life. By practicing mindfulness in your conversations and interactions, you not only deepen your connections with others, but also cultivate a sense of calm and clarity within yourself. Being present means letting go of distractions, whether they're external or internal. In today's world, it's easy to become distracted by technology, to-do lists, or even our own thoughts. When you're engaged in a conversation, make a conscious effort to put these distractions aside. Turn off notifications, maintain eye contact, and focus solely on the person speaking. The Stoics taught that by immersing yourself in the present moment, you can more accurately perceive and understand what's happening around you, unclouded by unnecessary worries or interruptions. Presence also involves active listening. Instead of formulating your response while the other person is speaking, listen fully to what they're saying. Notice their tone, body language, and the emotions behind their words. This kind of deep listening allows you to connect on a more meaningful level, as it shows the other person that you value their thoughts and feelings. According to the Stoics, by focusing on others without judgment or impatience, we cultivate virtues like empathy, kindness, and understanding. Another aspect of presence is observing your own internal responses during interactions. The Stoics encouraged self-awareness as a means of maintaining control over one's thoughts and emotions. When you're present in a conversation, notice if you feel defensive, distracted, or judgmental, and gently guide yourself back to the moment. By recognizing these reactions without letting them control you, you can respond with greater calmness and clarity. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of maintaining equanimity, even in the face of potentially upsetting situations, as this helps you stay true to your values and intentions. Presence also means embracing silence when appropriate. Many of us feel compelled to fill every gap in conversation, but silence can actually be powerful. It allows others time to process their thoughts and open space for deeper reflections. The Stoics valued silence as a tool for introspection and understanding, and by allowing for it in conversations, you create an environment where both you and the other person can engage more authentically. Incorporating presence into every interaction takes practice, but the rewards are significant. You'll find that people are more open with you, and you'll gain a richer understanding of their perspectives and emotions. This lesson from Stoicism enhances your relationships and helps you navigate social interactions with a sense of mindfulness, compassion, and calm. Lesson 11. Practice silence. In Stoicism, silence is not merely the absence of words. It is a powerful tool for reflection, understanding, and connection. The Stoics valued silence because it fosters mindfulness, allows for deeper observation, and creates space for genuine insight. Practicing silence doesn't mean withholding communication, but rather being intentional about when to speak and when to listen. By embracing silence, you can enhance your ability to perceive others and strengthen your relationships. Silence allows you to listen more attentively. When you're not focused on formulating a response or eager to share your thoughts, you're free to fully absorb what the other person is saying. The Stoics believe that listening is essential to wisdom, and silence cultivates this skill. When you allow the other person to speak without interruption, you demonstrate respect and interest, encouraging them to share more deeply. Often, people reveal their thoughts and emotions gradually, filling the quiet moments with insights they might not have expressed otherwise. By being silent, you give them space to explore and articulate these ideas. Silence also fosters self-awareness. In the quiet moments of a conversation, you have a chance to observe your own reactions and thoughts. Are you feeling impatient, defensive, eager to jump in with your own story? The Stoics emphasize the importance of self-mastery and self-control. Practicing silence helps you notice these internal impulses and allows you to choose your responses more thoughtfully. By observing your reactions without acting on them immediately, you align yourself with the Stoic principle of responding with calm and reason rather than impulsively. Moreover, silence encourages others to fill the space with their own reflections. When you remain silent after someone has spoken, you give them a chance to continue, clarify, or expand on their thoughts. This often leads to more honest and vulnerable communication, as people feel they have the time and space to share without being rushed. In a Stoic sense, this deepens your understanding of others, as you're allowing them to reveal themselves in their own way and at their own pace. The Stoics also saw silence as a means of cultivating inner peace. Speaking constantly can lead to emotional agitation, especially when conversations become tense or heated. In these moments, silence is a refuge. By choosing not to engage immediately, you can maintain your composure and observe the situation with a clear mind. Marcus Aurelius advised, "It is better to conquer silence than to conquer the world." This reminds us that silence can be a form of strength, allowing us to approach situations with a level-headed and measured response. Practicing silence doesn't mean you should avoid speaking or sharing your thoughts. Instead, it's about being intentional with your words and valuing the quiet moments. By doing so, you create space for others to open up, gain greater control over your own responses, and cultivate a sense of peace in your interactions. The Stoics knew that in silence we find clarity, and through that clarity we achieve a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. Lesson 12. Reflect on your interactions. The Stoics emphasize the importance of self-reflection as a key practice for personal growth and understanding. Reflection allows you to look back on your interactions and learn from them, deepening your insights into both yourself and others. For the Stoics, this regular examination of one's thoughts, words, and actions was a cornerstone of living a virtuous life. By reflecting on your interactions, you can become more aware of patterns, improve your responses, and build stronger connections with others. To practice reflection effectively, start by reviewing each significant interaction at the end of your day. Consider how you felt during the conversation and whether you fully understood the other person. Were there moments when you felt impatient, defensive, or distracted? Did you respond thoughtfully? Or were there times when you spoke impulsively? The Stoics believed that understanding these responses is essential for self-mastery, as it helps you identify areas where you can improve. Reflection also involves examining your judgments and assumptions. Did you make assumptions about the other person's intentions or motivations? If so, were these assumptions accurate, or were they based on biases? The Stoics taught that by recognizing our biases, we can approach others with greater openness and objectivity. Marcus Aurelius encouraged this practice of self-examination, reminding us that by understanding our own minds, we can avoid unnecessary conflicts and misunderstandings. Reflecting on your interactions allows you to catch these patterns and adjust your mindset for future conversations. In addition, reflection helps you learn from both positive and negative interactions. If you had a meaningful and connected conversation, consider what made it so effective. Did you practice active listening? Did you ask open-ended questions? Identify the elements that contributed to the positive experience so you can incorporate them into future interactions. Conversely, if a conversation was tense or unproductive, think about what you could have done differently. The Stoics believed that all experiences, good or bad, offer valuable lessons. By reflecting on these experiences, you can turn challenges into opportunities for growth. Reflection also fosters a sense of gratitude and appreciation. As you review your interactions, consider the moments of kindness, understanding, or insight that others shared with you. The Stoics taught that gratitude is essential to a content and peaceful life. Reflecting on these moments helps you acknowledge the positive impact others have on your life and reinforces your desire to connect with people in meaningful ways. Ultimately, by incorporating reflection into your daily routine, you're following a Stoic path to self-improvement. This practice encourages you to approach each day with intention, mindfulness, and a commitment to growth. The Stoics knew that self-knowledge is the foundation of wisdom, and through reflection, you gain a clearer understanding of your own strengths and weaknesses. Over time, this habit will enable you to navigate interactions with greater patience, empathy, and insight, helping you build relationships that are grounded in respect and mutual understanding. Lesson 13. Focus on actions over words. The Stoics taught that actions reveal more about a person's character than words ever could. While words can be manipulated to convey a certain image or message, actions are often a more honest reflection of a person's true intentions, values, and priorities. Focusing on actions over words aligns with the Stoic pursuit of truth, as it allows you to see people for who they are, rather than who they may claim to be. In any interaction, pay attention to what someone does, rather than what they say. For example, if a person frequently talks about the importance of kindness, but is often rude or dismissive to others, their actions reveal a contradiction in their values. The Stoics believe that virtue is defined by consistent, honorable behavior, not by grand declarations. According to them, true character shines through in daily habits and choices, not through lofty speeches or promises. Similarly, focus on reliability and follow-through. Words can be cheap and promises easy to make, but commitment and consistency require real effort. If someone often makes promises but fails to keep them, they may lack the integrity or reliability you can depend on. Conversely, someone who follows through on commitments, even small ones, demonstrates trustworthiness and respect for others. Marcus Aurelius encouraged the practice of evaluating people's actions, as these actions reflect their inner values. By observing what people do, rather than simply accepting their words at face value, you can better understand their true priorities. The Stoics also emphasize that actions reveal a person's resilience and strength of character, particularly in challenging situations. Pay close attention to how someone behaves under pressure, not just how they speak about dealing with adversity. Many people can discuss ideals like courage or perseverance, but their real character becomes evident when they're actually tested. The Stoics believed that life's challenges provide opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Observing how others handle these moments can give you insight into their capacity for resilience and their commitment to the virtues they espouse. Finally, this Stoic focus on actions over words can help you cultivate a more discerning mindset. Instead of being swayed by persuasive rhetoric or charming personalities, learn to look deeper. People may try to impress or influence others with eloquent words, but actions often speak a language that's more truthful. When you prioritize actions, you develop a more accurate understanding of those around you and avoid being misled by superficial appearances. By focusing on actions over words, you also gain a valuable tool for personal reflection. The Stoics encourage this practice not only for understanding others, but also for holding oneself accountable. Just as you assess others by their actions, reflect on your own behavior and whether it aligns with the values you wish to embody. In doing so, you live a life that is consistent, authentic, and true to Stoic principles, fostering deeper connections based on mutual respect and trust. Lesson 14. Notice small acts of kindness. In Stoicism, kindness is viewed as a fundamental virtue, an expression of humanity's interconnectedness. The Stoics taught that, despite our individual pursuits, we are all part of a larger community. Observing small acts of kindness provides insight into a person's character and allows you to see their innate values. While grand gestures often draw attention, the Stoics believed that genuine kindness is often found in the quiet, everyday actions that reflect a person's true nature. To begin noticing these small acts, pay attention to how people treat those around them, especially in moments that seem insignificant. Do they show courtesy to strangers, offer a helping hand, or demonstrate patience in situations where others might not? These seemingly minor actions reflect a commitment to empathy and compassion, revealing a person's core principles. The Stoics saw kindness as an expression of virtue and viewed acts of generosity, however small, as a testament to one's character. Small acts of kindness can be as simple as holding the door open for someone, offering a sincere compliment, or taking the time to listen to others. While these actions might appear trivial, they often reflect an underlying commitment to respect and empathy. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of treating others with dignity, and he reminded himself daily to approach everyone with kindness, regardless of their behavior. By observing these acts in others, you can better understand their approach to life and their level of consideration for those around them. Moreover, noticing small acts of kindness fosters gratitude and strengthens your connections with others. When you recognize and appreciate these gestures, you become more aware of the positive impacts people make in your life. In turn, this awareness can inspire you to reciprocate with kindness, creating a cycle of compassion and goodwill. The Stoics believed that we have an ethical duty to contribute positively to the lives of others, and by recognizing kindness in others, you're reminded of this responsibility. This focus on kindness also encourages you to reflect on your own behavior. The Stoics taught that we should strive to embody the virtues we admire in others. When you observe someone acting kindly, ask yourself how you might incorporate similar actions into your own life. Small gestures not only uplift those around you, but also reinforce your own commitment to Stoic principles. They serve as daily practices of empathy, reminding you of your role within the broader human community. By observing and appreciating small acts of kindness, you cultivate a Stoic mindset rooted in gratitude and connection. This perspective helps you navigate interactions with a greater sense of empathy and awareness, recognizing that kindness is often the simplest yet most profound expression of virtue. Embrace these moments as reminders that each of us has the capacity to make a positive impact, even in the smallest of ways. Through this lens, you'll find that kindness becomes not just an action but a way of being, enriching your relationships and aligning you with the Stoic path of virtue and interconnectedness. Lesson 15. Cultivate inner stillness. The Stoics believed that inner stillness or tranquility is essential for gaining clarity and understanding both oneself and others. Inner stillness is not simply about being calm. It is about creating a space within yourself where external chaos and internal turmoil cannot disturb your peace. This cultivated stillness allows you to approach life with a clear mind and open heart, enabling you to observe others more perceptively and respond with greater wisdom. In Stoic philosophy, this state of inner tranquility is one of the highest achievements and a pathway to true insight. To cultivate inner stillness, begin by practicing mindfulness and self-awareness. The Stoics emphasized the importance of being present in the moment and avoiding distractions. By grounding yourself in the present, you reduce the impact of worries about the past or anxieties about the future. This presence allows you to observe what is happening around you and within you without judgment or reaction. In this state of mindfulness, you can notice your thoughts and emotions as they arise, recognizing them without allowing them to take control. Over time, this practice leads to a deeper sense of inner peace and resilience. Inner stillness also involves detachment from external circumstances. The Stoics taught that while we cannot control external events, we can control how we respond to them. This principle is essential for cultivating tranquility. When you detach from outcomes and release your attachment to things beyond your control, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering and frustration. By focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and responses, you create a steady foundation within yourself. In this place of stillness, you become less reactive to the actions of others and more capable of responding thoughtfully and compassionately. Furthermore, cultivating inner stillness enables you to engage with others from a place of calmness and empathy. When your mind is tranquil, you're better equipped to listen, observe, and understand. You're not distracted by your own concerns or emotional reactions, which allows you to focus fully on the person in front of you. This centered presence helps you pick up on subtle cues, understand unspoken emotions, and connect on a deeper level. In this way, inner stillness enhances your relationships and enables you to interact with others more meaningfully. To develop this state of stillness, incorporate daily practices such as meditation, deep breathing, and moments of solitude. The Stoics often reflected on the idea of silence and solitude as pathways to inner peace. Marcus Aurelius, for example, encouraged regular reflection and meditation, seeing these as essential practices for cultivating resilience and clarity. By spending time alone with your thoughts, you become more aware of your inner landscape and develop the ability to maintain calm in any situation. Ultimately, inner stillness is a cornerstone of Stoic wisdom. It provides a solid foundation for navigating life's challenges and fosters a sense of peace and understanding that benefits both yourself and those around you. When you cultivate this tranquility, you not only gain insight into your own nature, but also strengthen your ability to see others clearly, responding to them with the empathy and wisdom that define the Stoic path. Incorporating these 15 Stoic lessons into your daily life can transform the way you understand and connect with others. By observing body language, listening deeply, and practicing empathy without judgment, you're able to perceive more than just words. You begin to see the underlying motivations and emotions that drive people. Stoicism teaches us that true understanding requires presence, reflection, and a commitment to seeing others as they are, not as we wish them to be. By cultivating inner stillness and focusing on actions over words, you align yourself with Stoic principles that foster a deeper, more meaningful connection with the people around you. These lessons aren't just tools for reading others, they're pathways to self-growth. As you apply these practices, you'll find that your own responses become more compassionate, patient, and wise. The Stoics believed that understanding human nature leads to a more harmonious life, both internally and in relationships. By adopting these Stoic insights, you're not only enriching your connections with others, but also nurturing a calm, steady mind that can navigate life's complexities with clarity and purpose. In today's video, we'll be talking about a powerful emotion that affects all of us: anger. Anger can feel overwhelming and uncontrollable at times, but what if I told you there's a way to take back control? The Stoics, some of the greatest philosophers in history, believe that while we can't avoid feeling anger, we can change how we respond to it. In fact, Stoic philosophy offers practical insights that can help you not only manage your anger, but prevent it from taking control of your life. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all shared profound teachings on this topic, emphasizing that anger is a choice. It's not the situations we face, but how we interpret and react to them that leads to anger. By shifting your mindset and practicing Stoic techniques, you can stay calm in the face of frustration and adversity. In this video, we'll cover 15 key Stoic lessons that will help you break free from the grip of anger. These principles will allow you to maintain your inner peace, no matter what life throws your way. From understanding what is within your control to practicing gratitude and empathy, these lessons will give you the tools you need to live a more tranquil and balanced life. So if you're ready to stop letting anger control you, stay tuned. Let's dive into the wisdom of the Stoics and transform how you handle one of the most challenging emotions we all face. Lesson 1. Anger is a choice. Anger often feels like a reflex, an automatic response to something that frustrates or hurts us. However, the Stoics firmly believed that anger is not something that simply happens to us. It's a reaction that we actively choose. This might seem counterintuitive, especially when you're in the heat of the moment, but understanding this can be incredibly liberating. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When you internalize this principle, it becomes clear that external events or people do not have the power to make you angry. It's your interpretation of those events that triggers the emotion. You decide whether to react with anger or with calm and reason. For instance, if someone cuts you off in traffic, your immediate instinct might be to feel enraged. You might think, "That person disrespected me," but in reality, the only thing that happened is that another car moved into your lane. The event itself is neutral. Your mind is the one assigning a negative judgment to it. By reframing the situation, perhaps by considering that the other driver made an innocent mistake or was in a hurry, you can avoid feeling angry altogether. Seneca, another prominent Stoic, advised that when anger rises, we should delay our response. This pause allows us to reflect on the situation and choose how we want to feel. Anger is often a result of acting impulsively. By creating space between the event and our reaction, we gain the power to respond thoughtfully, not emotionally. Moreover, choosing not to be angry does not mean passively accepting wrongs done to you. It means taking control of your emotional state so that you can respond in a way that aligns with your values and goals. Anger clouds judgment and leads to irrational decisions, often causing more harm than good. By choosing calm over anger, you can handle difficult situations with clarity and wisdom. Lesson 2. Focus on what you can control. One of the foundational teachings of Stoicism is the clear distinction between what is within your control and what is outside of it. This principle can dramatically shift how you experience and handle anger. At its core, anger often stems from frustration over things that don't go our way. Whether it's other people's actions, events we didn't anticipate, or outcomes we didn't expect. But as the Stoics teach us, most of these things are entirely outside of our control. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher and teacher, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This statement embodies the Stoic belief that while external circumstances are beyond our control, we have complete authority over how we perceive and respond to them. Anger arises when we believe that things should be different than they are, yet we lack the power to change them. The problem is not the world around us, it's our attachment to the idea that we can control it. To combat this, the Stoics encourage us to narrow our focus to what we can control: our own thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else, other people's opinions, natural events, societal decisions, or even the weather, falls into the category of things we cannot influence. Once you understand this, the tension and frustration caused by those uncontrollable aspects of life begin to dissipate. Imagine a scenario where a colleague at work gets promoted over you. Your initial reaction might be anger or frustration. You might think, "That's unfair. I deserved that promotion." But ask yourself, did you really have control over the decision-making process? You can control your effort, your work ethic, and your skills, but the decision ultimately rested with someone else. Anger in this case stems from wanting to control an outcome that was never truly within your power. By focusing on what you can control, perhaps improving your skills or reflecting on what you can do better next time, you transform anger into a constructive force. Another aspect of focusing on what you can control is understanding that even in situations of conflict or disagreement, your response is yours to control. Let's say someone insults you. The Stoics would argue that the insult itself has no power to make you feel bad. It's your interpretation of the insult that causes the emotional response. If you choose to see the insult as a reflection of the other person's ignorance or lack of self-control, rather than a personal attack, your emotional response can remain calm and measured. This focus on internal versus external control doesn't mean that we should be passive or indifferent to the world around us. Instead, it empowers us to focus on what we can influence: our actions, decisions, and attitudes. By doing so, we conserve our emotional energy and avoid unnecessary suffering caused by worrying about things that are beyond our reach. In short, when you shift your focus to what's within your control, you free yourself from the frustration and anger that arises when things don't go your way. It's not about controlling the world, but controlling your reaction to it. By internalizing this principle, you can face life's challenges with a sense of calm and clarity. Lesson 3. You are the judge of your emotions. One of the most transformative Stoic principles is the understanding that you, and only you, are the judge of your emotions. While external events may seem like the cause of our emotional reactions, the Stoics teach us that our emotions arise from our interpretation of these events. This means that we have more control over how we feel than we often realize. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, stated, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." This suggests that our emotional responses are not determined by external circumstances, but by how we perceive those circumstances. In other words, the events themselves are neutral. It's our judgment of these events that assigns meaning and emotional weight to them. Anger, frustration, sadness. These are not inherent in the situation, but are the result of our internal evaluation of what happened. To fully grasp this concept, think about two people experiencing the same event. Let's say they both miss their flight. One person might react with intense anger, blaming the airline, the traffic, or even themselves for the inconvenience. The other person might stay calm, accepting the situation for what it is and thinking, "I'll catch the next flight. It's no big deal." What's the difference between these two reactions? It's not the event itself. Both missed the same flight. It's how each person chose to interpret the situation. One let anger take over, while the other exercised calm judgment. The Stoics teach that emotions are not automatic responses. They are decisions. When we encounter a situation that might normally make us angry, frustrated, or upset, we have the opportunity to pause and reflect. We can ask ourselves, is this situation worth my emotional energy? What judgment am I making that's causing this reaction? By doing so, we become aware of the fact that we are choosing to react a certain way, and this awareness gives us the power to change our response. This lesson is especially important when dealing with anger. It's easy to blame external factors, someone's rude comment, an unfair decision at work, or unexpected difficulties in our personal lives. But Stoicism encourages us to look inward. The situation may be challenging, but it doesn't have to provoke anger. If we change our judgment of the situation, we can change our emotional response. By practicing this regularly, you begin to understand that you are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are in control. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending that negative feelings don't exist. Instead, it means recognizing that emotions are a choice and you can choose to judge events in a way that aligns with peace, wisdom, and calmness. Lesson 4. Delay your reaction. One of the most practical and immediate strategies the Stoics recommend for managing anger is to delay your reaction. Anger often arises quickly, catching us off guard and leading us to act impulsively. In the heat of the moment, we say things we don't mean or make decisions we later regret. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, emphasized that the best remedy for anger is delay. By taking a moment to pause before reacting, we give ourselves the chance to regain control over our emotions and respond more thoughtfully. Anger is a reactive emotion. It's often triggered by something external, a comment, an event, or a situation that we perceive as unjust or frustrating. Our immediate instinct may be to lash out, to defend ourselves, or to vent our frustration. However, when we react quickly, our judgment is clouded by the intensity of the emotion, and we're less likely to make rational decisions. Delaying our reaction gives us time to let the emotional surge subside and allows us to think more clearly. Consider this analogy. Anger is like a fire that flares up suddenly. If you pour fuel on it, by reacting instantly, it spreads and intensifies. But if you give it time, the fire begins to die down on its own. Delaying your reaction works in much the same way. When you take a step back, even for a few moments, you allow your emotions to cool, giving you the clarity to approach the situation with reason rather than passion. In practical terms, delaying your reaction can be as simple as taking a deep breath, counting to 10, or stepping away from the situation. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It means giving yourself space to process them before deciding how to act. When you allow yourself this pause, you're more likely to respond in a way that aligns with your values and long-term goals, rather than reacting impulsively out of anger. Seneca also advised us to remember that often, the things that provoke us are trivial in the grand scheme of life. If we rush to react to every perceived slight or inconvenience, we will be in a constant state of turmoil. Delaying your reaction not only helps you avoid unnecessary conflict, but also allows you to maintain a sense of peace and perspective. It's a reminder that not every situation requires an immediate or emotional response. Delaying your reaction is particularly powerful in situations where anger is likely to escalate a conflict. For example, in an argument, taking a moment to pause before responding can prevent you from saying something hurtful or making the situation worse. This pause doesn't signal weakness. Rather, it's a sign of emotional strength and maturity. You are choosing to remain in control of yourself, which is the ultimate Stoic goal. Lesson 5. Anger is destructive. One of the most compelling reasons to manage anger is the destructive impact it has, not just on others, but on ourselves as well. The Stoics were particularly mindful of how damaging unchecked anger can be, and they often warned against its dangerous consequences. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, described anger as a brief madness, because it impairs our ability to think clearly and rationally. When we act out of anger, we become a threat to ourselves, our relationships, and the harmony of our environment. Anger can feel powerful in the moment, but this power is deceptive. What seems like a justified emotional response often leaves behind a trail of destruction, whether in the form of broken relationships, damaged reputations, or physical consequences such as stress and health problems. Consider how many people have said or done things in a fit of rage, only to regret their actions when they've cooled down. The damage, however, has already been done. Words cannot be unsaid and actions cannot be undone. This is why the Stoics believed that anger should be treated with caution. It rarely leads to positive outcomes. From a Stoic perspective, anger disrupts the very qualities we should be cultivating: rationality, wisdom, and self-control. When we allow anger to take over, we lose sight of these principles. Instead of acting with reason, we act with impulse, often making decisions that contradict our values or long-term goals. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, emphasized the importance of staying calm and composed in the face of provocation. He believed that maintaining inner peace was far more valuable than winning a fleeting argument or proving someone wrong out of anger. Anger is also physically destructive. Numerous studies have shown that chronic anger can lead to serious health problems such as high blood pressure, heart disease, and weakened immune function. When you're angry, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you for a fight-or-flight response. While this reaction might be useful in actual danger, it is harmful when triggered by everyday frustrations. Over time, this constant state of agitation wears down the body, leaving you more vulnerable to illness and fatigue. Moreover, anger affects your mental well-being. It consumes your energy and focus, leaving you drained and emotionally exhausted. When you're angry, it's hard to think clearly or make rational decisions. You become consumed by the emotion, replaying the event in your mind and justifying your anger, which only perpetuates the cycle. This mental and emotional exhaustion prevents you from focusing on productive or meaningful tasks. The Stoics recognize that anger in its essence is self-destructive. It feels powerful in the moment, but its consequences are often damaging and irreversible. Seneca urged us to remember that while anger may seem justified, it rarely leads to anything constructive. Instead, it often makes situations worse, either by escalating conflict or by causing harm to our relationships and ourselves. Lesson 6. Accept imperfection. One of the core principles of Stoic philosophy is the acceptance of imperfection, in ourselves, in others, and in the world around us. Life, according to the Stoics, is full of setbacks, mistakes, and events that do not go according to plan. Instead of resisting these imperfections or getting angry when things don't go our way, the Stoics teach us to embrace them as an inevitable part of life. In fact, by accepting imperfection, we free ourselves from much of the frustration, disappointment, and anger that arise when reality doesn't match our expectations. Epictetus, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, famously taught, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." When we judge situations or people based on an unrealistic expectation of perfection, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Life will never be flawless. People will make mistakes, plans will fall apart, and challenges will arise. If we expect otherwise, we create a recipe for frustration and anger. A key to managing anger is recognizing that imperfection is natural. The Stoics believe that everything in the universe unfolds as it should, according to the laws of nature, even when it doesn't align with our personal desires. By understanding this, we can let go of the need to control everything and accept that things won't always go our way. This acceptance brings a sense of peace and resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges. For example, when someone at work makes a mistake that affects you, your initial reaction might be anger. You might think, "How could they be so careless?" But upon reflection, you realize that everyone, including yourself, is prone to making errors. Instead of allowing the mistake to upset you, you can choose to accept it as part of the human experience. This shift in perspective helps to diffuse anger and foster a more empathetic and understanding response. This acceptance of imperfection also applies to ourselves. Many people are their own harshest critics, holding themselves to impossibly high standards and becoming frustrated or angry when they fall short. Stoicism teaches us that just as we must accept the imperfections of others, we must also accept our own. Mistakes are opportunities for growth, not reasons to beat ourselves up. By embracing our flaws and using them as learning experiences, we can cultivate a healthier and more compassionate relationship with ourselves. Accepting imperfection doesn't mean we should stop striving for improvement or settle for mediocrity. It means acknowledging that the path to progress is rarely a straight line. There will be setbacks, missteps, and failures along the way. The Stoics believed that the true measure of a person is not in their ability to avoid mistakes, but in how they respond to them. Lesson 7. Practice empathy. Empathy is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit for managing anger and maintaining emotional balance. While anger often stems from our judgment of other people's actions, empathy allows us to see beyond our initial emotional reaction and consider the intentions, challenges, and limitations of those around us. By practicing empathy, we cultivate patience, understanding, and compassion, which are essential for keeping anger in check. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, frequently reminded himself to view others with understanding rather than judgment. In his meditations, he wrote, "Whenever you are offended at someone's lack of shame, you should immediately ask yourself, is it possible for there to be no shameless people in the world? It's not possible." This reflection highlights a fundamental Stoic principle. People will act in ways that frustrate or disappoint us because they are human. They have their own challenges, weaknesses, and blind spots, just as we do. When we take the time to practice empathy, we move away from reacting with anger and instead try to understand why someone might have behaved the way they did. For instance, if a colleague at work misses an important deadline, your first response might be irritation or anger. You might think, "How could they be so irresponsible?" But if you practice empathy, you might ask yourself, what challenges could they be facing? Is there something in their personal life that I'm not aware of? This shift in perspective can diffuse anger and open the door to more constructive communication. Empathy also reminds us that most people's actions are not intended to harm us personally. Often, people act out of ignorance, stress, or their own struggles, not malice. By viewing others with empathy, we are less likely to take things personally, which is a common trigger for anger. For example, if someone speaks harshly to you, instead of immediately becoming defensive or angry, you might consider that they are having a bad day or dealing with personal issues that have nothing to do with you. This understanding doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you respond with calmness rather than anger. Furthermore, practicing empathy fosters better relationships. When we show understanding and compassion, we encourage others to do the same. People are more likely to respond positively when they feel understood rather than judged. This can lead to more productive conversations and problem solving, rather than escalating conflicts driven by anger. Empathy also extends to ourselves. Just as we practice understanding towards others, it's important to cultivate self-empathy. We are all prone to making mistakes, having bad days, or falling short of our expectations. When we can be kind to ourselves and recognize our own humanity, we are less likely to become angry at ourselves for perceived failures or shortcomings. Lesson 8. Anger weakens you. One of the most crucial insights the Stoics offer about anger is that it doesn't make you stronger. It makes you weaker. While it might feel powerful in the moment, anger ultimately clouds your judgment, undermines your self-control, and diminishes your ability to act rationally. In contrast, true strength lies in maintaining your composure, thinking clearly, and responding to life's challenges with calmness and resilience. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, emphasized the importance of mastering our emotions. He believed that emotions like anger, if left unchecked, have the power to control us and lead us away from reason and wisdom. In his teachings, he often warned that anger blinds us, making it difficult to see situations clearly or make good decisions. This is why anger weakens you. It strips you of the clarity and self-control necessary to navigate life effectively. When you're angry, your focus narrows, and your ability to think rationally diminishes. You become reactive rather than proactive, which often leads to rash decisions and regretful actions. In the heat of anger, it's easy to lash out at others, say things you don't mean, or make choices that you'll later wish you could undo. In these moments, anger takes over, and you lose control of yourself. This is the essence of weakness, being at the mercy of your emotions rather than in command of them. Think of a time when you acted out of anger. Did the situation improve, or did things get worse? More often than not, anger escalates conflicts, damages relationships, and leaves us feeling drained. It weakens us emotionally by causing unnecessary tension and frustration, physically by raising our stress levels, and mentally by distorting our judgment. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, knew the importance of staying calm in moments of pressure. He wrote in his Meditations, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." He understood that a calm, rational mind is far more powerful than one ruled by anger. When you remain composed, you can assess situations with clarity, make informed decisions, and maintain your dignity, even in the face of adversity. This is true strength, the ability to face life's challenges with reason and self-control. Moreover, anger often leads us to act against our own best interests. When we are angry, we may sacrifice long-term goals for short-term satisfaction. For instance, in a fit of anger, we might say something hurtful to a loved one, damaging a relationship that took years to build. In doing so, we undermine the things that truly matter to us, simply because we couldn't control our emotions in the moment. In contrast, when we master our anger, we maintain control over our actions and can stay aligned with our values. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but rather understanding that emotions like anger are temporary, and that we don't have to act on them impulsively. The true power lies in recognizing anger for what it is, a fleeting emotion, and choosing to respond with wisdom and strength instead. Lesson 9. You are bigger than your emotions. One of the most profound teachings of Stoicism is the belief that we are not defined by our emotions. While emotions are an inevitable part of the human experience, the Stoics teach that we are bigger than our emotions and that we have the capacity to observe, understand, and manage them. Emotions like anger may arise naturally, but we do not have to be controlled by them. Instead, we can choose how we respond to them. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us that we have the power to distinguish between things that are within our control and those that are outside of our control. Our emotions fall into the category of things we can control, not in the sense that we can prevent them from arising, but in how we choose to handle them once they appear. Anger may flare up in response to a situation, but we can decide whether to let it govern our actions or to step back, reflect, and choose a more reasoned response. Recognizing that we are bigger than our emotions gives us the power to create a gap between the stimulus, whatever provoked the anger, and our response. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reflects on the importance of maintaining composure and mastering one's emotions. He emphasizes that while we may feel anger, we are not the anger itself. We are something far greater, rational beings capable of making deliberate, thoughtful choices. This ability to rise above our emotions is what sets Stoic philosophy apart from a purely reactive way of living. When we understand that emotions like anger are transient and not an essential part of who we are, we begin to take back control over our lives. We can feel the emotion without letting it dictate our behavior. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but rather accepting them as natural occurrences that don't have to define us. For example, if you're in a situation where someone insults you, your initial emotional response might be anger. However, when you recognize that this emotion is separate from your core self, you can choose not to act on it impulsively. You might think, yes, I'm feeling angry, but that doesn't mean I have to respond in a destructive or harmful way. You can allow the emotion to pass without letting it consume you. This perspective also fosters self-compassion. Sometimes we may feel angry or upset with ourselves for not being perfect or for making mistakes. When we realize that our emotions are just temporary states and not a reflection of our true nature, we can treat ourselves with more kindness. Instead of identifying with the anger and letting it dictate how we see ourselves, we can acknowledge it, learn from it, and move on. The Stoics believed that the ultimate goal is to cultivate a state of inner tranquility, where external events and emotions don't shake our sense of who we are. By recognizing that we are bigger than our emotions, we can maintain this sense of peace even when life gets difficult. We may feel anger, sadness, or frustration, but we don't have to be ruled by these emotions. We have the power to rise above them and respond with wisdom and calm. Lesson 10. Reflect on your mortality. One of the most powerful practices in Stoicism is memento mori, the reflection on mortality. The Stoics believed that contemplating death is not a morbid or pessimistic exercise, but a way to gain clarity, perspective, and appreciation for life. By remembering that our time is finite, we are able to prioritize what truly matters and let go of trivial concerns, especially anger. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoics, regularly reminded himself of the inevitability of death. In his Meditations, he wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This reflection on mortality encouraged him to focus on living in accordance with his values and to avoid getting caught up in fleeting emotions like anger. When we understand that life is short, we realize that much of what provokes us to anger is insignificant in the grand scheme of things. When anger arises, it often feels all-consuming, as if the situation at hand is the most important thing in the world. But when we reflect on our mortality, we see the bigger picture. Will this moment of frustration matter tomorrow, next week, in a year? When we reflect on the fact that life is temporary, we are reminded to focus on what truly matters: our relationships, our integrity, and our contribution to the world. The Stoics believed that by reflecting on death, we can also cultivate a sense of gratitude for life. When you recognize that each day could be your last, you are more likely to appreciate the moments you have and less likely to waste them on anger or frustration. Instead of getting upset over minor inconveniences or disagreements, you can approach life with a sense of calm and gratitude for simply being alive. Memento mori also serves as a reminder to live with urgency and purpose. Knowing that life is fleeting helps us prioritize what is truly important and avoid wasting time on negative emotions like anger. If you were to imagine that today was your last day, how would you choose to spend it? Would you want to waste precious time being angry? Or would you want to focus on meaningful actions and relationships? This reflection can help you shift your mindset and let go of unnecessary emotional reactions. Furthermore, contemplating mortality allows us to forgive more easily. When you remember that life is short, holding on to anger or grudges seems like a waste of time. People make mistakes. Relationships experience conflict and misunderstandings arise. But when we realize that our time with others is limited, it becomes easier to forgive, let go of anger, and focus on making the most of the moments we have together. Lesson 11. Practice gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful practice that has the ability to shift your mindset, dissolve anger, and bring a sense of peace and fulfillment to your life. The Stoics understood that when we focus on what we have, rather than what we lack, we are far less likely to become consumed by negative emotions like anger, envy, or frustration. Practicing gratitude fosters a sense of contentment and helps us maintain emotional equilibrium, even in difficult situations. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, advised that we should regularly remind ourselves of the good things we already possess, rather than constantly longing for what we don't have. He said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. This shift in focus, from scarcity to abundance, has the ability to completely transform how we experience life's challenges, including situations that might typically provoke anger. When you practice gratitude, you train your mind to focus on the positive aspects of life, rather than dwelling on what's going wrong. For example, if you're stuck in traffic and feel anger rising, you can choose to reframe the situation by thinking about what you're grateful for. Perhaps the fact that you have a car, that you're headed to a job that supports you, or that you have the time to listen to a podcast or reflect on your day. This simple act of shifting your focus can diffuse anger and replace it with a sense of appreciation. Gratitude also helps you stay grounded in the present moment. Often anger arises because we are either dwelling on past wrongs or worrying about future uncertainties. By practicing gratitude, you bring your attention back to the present and acknowledge the good that exists in your life right now. This focus on the here and now allows you to let go of the emotions that aren't serving you, particularly anger. Additionally, gratitude enhances your relationships with others. When you take the time to appreciate the people in your life and acknowledge their positive qualities, it becomes much harder to stay angry with them. Practicing gratitude in relationships fosters forgiveness, patience, and understanding. Instead of focusing on someone's shortcomings or mistakes, you remind yourself of their good qualities and the value they bring to your life. This can prevent anger from taking root in situations where minor frustrations might otherwise escalate. The Stoics also understood that gratitude is not just about being thankful for the good things, it's about embracing challenges and setbacks as opportunities for growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This perspective encourages us to be grateful not only for the easy and pleasant aspects of life, but also for the difficulties that help us become stronger and wiser. Lesson 12. Train your mind daily. In Stoicism, the practice of training your mind is essential to achieving emotional resilience and clarity. Just as an athlete trains their body to stay physically fit, the Stoics believed that we must train our minds daily to maintain mental strength and composure, particularly when dealing with powerful emotions like anger. By consistently practicing mindfulness, reflection, and self-discipline, we can sharpen our ability to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and control, rather than being overwhelmed by emotional impulses. One of the key exercises in Stoic mental training is prosoche, or mindfulness. This practice involves being constantly aware of your thoughts, emotions, and actions throughout the day. The Stoics believed that by regularly paying attention to how we react to situations, we can better identify patterns of emotional reactivity, such as anger, and address them before they escalate. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself to stay mindful and reflect on his responses to challenges. By doing so, he was able to maintain his composure even under the intense pressure of ruling an empire. Another important element of training the mind is the practice of journaling, which allows for daily reflection and self-examination. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoics, recommended writing at the end of each day to review one's actions, decisions, and emotional responses. Through this exercise, you can identify moments where anger or other emotions got the better of you and explore how you could have responded differently. By making journaling a habit, you develop greater self-awareness and begin to notice the triggers that provoke anger. This awareness is crucial for managing emotional responses in the future. The Stoics also encouraged the practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of adversity. This exercise involves imagining potential challenges or difficult situations that might arise during the day and mentally preparing yourself for how you will respond. For example, before starting your day, you might reflect on the possibility that someone will criticize you, traffic might be bad, or unexpected problems could arise at work. By mentally preparing for these possibilities, you reduce the likelihood of being caught off guard and reacting with anger or frustration when they do occur. Instead, you are able to face these challenges with a calm and composed mind. Training your mind daily also involves practicing self-discipline and self-control. The Stoics believed that our ability to master emotions like anger depends on our ability to develop inner strength through consistent practice. This might mean resisting the temptation to react impulsively when provoked, or learning to remain silent in situations where speaking out of anger could cause harm. Over time, This self-discipline becomes a habit and you gain greater control over your emotional responses. Lesson 13. External things don't affect your peace. A fundamental tenet of Stoicism is the belief that external things do not have the power to disturb your inner peace, unless you allow them to. The Stoics taught that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond to it. This understanding is a cornerstone of emotional resilience and is especially relevant when managing anger. By recognizing that external events, people, or circumstances are beyond your control, you can free yourself from the emotional turbulence they often provoke. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, emphasized this concept in his Enchiridion, where he stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound statement highlights the importance of taking responsibility for your emotional reactions. When something unfavorable happens, it's easy to assume that the event itself is what's causing you distress or anger. However, in reality, it's your interpretation and judgment of that event that leads to your emotional response. Imagine, for example, that someone insults you. Your immediate reaction might be anger, but according to Stoic wisdom, the insult itself is neutral. It's just words spoken by another person. It only has power over you if you give it that power by choosing to be offended. In this way, the Stoics remind us that external events, by themselves, don't have the ability to disturb our peace. It's our perception of these events that causes emotional reactions like anger. To apply this lesson in daily life, start by recognizing that the external world is largely outside of your control. You can't control other people's opinions, the weather, or unexpected events, but you can control your mindset and attitude. When you accept that external things don't have inherent power over your emotional state, you begin to reclaim control over your inner peace. This mindset helps you navigate challenges and setbacks with greater composure. Furthermore, understanding that external things don't affect your peace can help you maintain perspective. For instance, in a frustrating situation, like being stuck in traffic or receiving negative feedback at work, ask yourself, is this really worth my peace of mind? The answer, more often than not, will be no. By framing the situation in this way, you can prevent anger from arising and instead respond with calm acceptance. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of focusing on what's within your control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is where true emotional freedom lies, knowing that no matter what happens around you, your inner peace is something only you can control. Once you internalize this lesson, you'll find it much easier to let go of anger and maintain a sense of calm, regardless of the external circumstances. Lesson 14. Anger is a waste of energy. Anger, while it may feel justified or even necessary in the moment, is ultimately a waste of energy. This is a key Stoic lesson, one that encourages us to reflect on how we spend our emotional and mental resources. Anger consumes a tremendous amount of energy, often leaving us physically and emotionally drained without resolving the situation that triggered it in the first place. Stoicism teaches us that instead of channeling energy into destructive emotions like anger, we should focus our efforts on constructive responses that help us move forward. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, warned that anger is like temporary madness because it takes over our rational mind and pushes us to act impulsively. It clouds our judgment, making it difficult to think clearly and assess situations objectively. When we are angry, we tend to fixate on the perceived wrongs or injustices we've experienced, which only serves to intensify the emotion. In these moments, we are not using our energy wisely. We are allowing anger to dominate our thoughts, fueling a cycle of frustration and negativity. Think about the last time you were angry. How much time and energy did you spend replaying the event in your mind, justifying your anger, and perhaps even escalating the situation further? In many cases, the anger didn't lead to a productive resolution. It may have even made the problem worse. This is the essence of wasted energy, expending mental and emotional resources on something that doesn't bring about positive change. The Stoics believed that instead of letting anger deplete us, we should redirect that energy toward actions that align with reason and virtue. For example, if someone wrongs you, rather than reacting with anger, you can choose to respond with patience or forgiveness. This approach not only conserves your emotional energy, but also allows you to maintain control over the situation. You avoid the destructive consequences of anger and instead focus on finding solutions or maintaining inner peace. Moreover, anger often leads us to focus on things beyond our control, such as other people's behavior or external circumstances. This misplaced focus is a waste of energy, as it doesn't change the situation. Stoicism encourages us to concentrate on what we can control, our own thoughts, reactions, and actions. By doing so, we use our energy in a way that is more productive and aligned with our values. Finally, anger takes a toll on your physical and mental well-being. It increases stress levels, affects your sleep, and can even weaken your immune system. This unnecessary strain on your body is another example of how anger wastes energy that could be better spent elsewhere, on maintaining your health, pursuing your goals, or cultivating meaningful relationships. Lesson 15. Aim for tranquility. The ultimate goal of Stoic practice is to cultivate tranquility, a state of inner calm and peace that remains unshaken by external circumstances. Tranquility is not about living a life free from challenges or avoiding difficult emotions. Instead, it's about maintaining a sense of equilibrium and resilience, no matter what life throws at you. For the Stoics, true strength lies in mastering one's emotions and reactions, and tranquility is the reward of that mastery. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, frequently wrote about the importance of inner peace. In his Meditations, he reminded himself that while we cannot control the actions of others or the events that happen to us, we can control how we respond to them. Tranquility is achieved when we let go of the need to control external circumstances and focus instead on cultivating a calm and rational mind. Anger, frustration, and other negative emotions arise when we resist the way things are. We become upset when reality doesn't match our expectations or desires. The Stoics, however, encourage us to accept life as it is, to embrace the idea of amor fati, or love of fate. This means accepting that whatever happens is part of the natural order, and that our role is not to fight against it, but to align ourselves with it. When you accept life as it unfolds, rather than constantly wishing it were different, you move closer to a state of tranquility. Achieving tranquility requires daily practice and mindfulness. One of the ways the Stoics recommended developing this sense of calm was through premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. This involves mentally preparing for potential challenges before they happen. By imagining obstacles and difficulties in advance, you reduce their emotional impact when they do occur. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to what happens, but rather that you approach life's difficulties with a calm and prepared mindset. Tranquility is easier to maintain when you're not caught off guard by life's inevitable hardships. Another essential aspect of aiming for tranquility is practicing detachment from outcomes. The Stoics believed that while we should strive to act virtuously and do our best in all endeavors, we must also recognize that the results are often beyond our control. By focusing on doing what is within your power and letting go of attachment to the outcome, you avoid the emotional turmoil that comes from unmet expectations. This mindset helps you maintain inner peace regardless of how situations unfold. Tranquility also involves developing emotional resilience. Rather than suppressing your feelings or pretending that you're unaffected by challenges, Stoicism teaches you to observe your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. When you notice anger, frustration, or sadness, you can acknowledge these feelings, reflect on their source, and choose not to let them disturb your inner peace. The goal is not to eliminate emotions, but to prevent them from dictating your actions or robbing you of your calm. In conclusion, anger is a powerful emotion that can easily take control if we don't learn how to manage it. By focusing on what you can control, accepting imperfection, and aiming for tranquility, you can stop anger from dictating your reactions. Instead, you can choose to respond with wisdom and resilience, no matter what life throws your way. The more you apply these principles, the more you'll notice a shift in how you experience frustration and conflict. Remember, it's not about never feeling angry again. Anger, like all emotions, is part of the human experience. What matters is how you handle it. The Stoics teach us that our peace of mind is always within our control, no matter the external circumstances. With practice, you can use these lessons to cultivate a more peaceful and balanced life, free from the destructive power of anger. If you found value in these lessons and want to continue your journey towards Stoic mastery, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Today we're diving into 13 Stoic lessons that have the power to change your perspective and help you live with greater clarity and purpose. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy practiced by the likes of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, teaches us how to cultivate inner peace, resilience, and strength in the face of life's challenges. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or disconnected from what truly matters. We're constantly bombarded by external pressures, whether it's work, social media, or the pursuit of material success. But the Stoics remind us that real happiness and tranquility come from within. These lessons aren't just ancient ideas. They're as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago. Whether you're facing a personal challenge, struggling with stress, or simply seeking more fulfillment in everyday life, Stoicism offers practical tools for living a better life. In this video, we'll uncover the key teachings of Stoicism that can transform your mindset. These 13 Stoic principles will guide you toward becoming a more grounded, resilient, and fulfilled version of yourself. So if you're ready to take control of your life, embrace wisdom, and pursue inner peace, let's begin with the first Stoic lesson that can change your life completely. Lesson 1. Focus only on what you can control. One of the most foundational lessons in Stoicism is learning to distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot. This concept is a cornerstone of Stoic thought and can drastically change how you approach life's challenges. Epictetus, one of the key Stoic philosophers, famously said, "We are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them." This statement captures the essence of this lesson. It's not the events themselves that cause distress, but rather our perception and reaction to them. So what exactly does it mean to focus only on what you can control? In life, there are two broad categories of things: those that are within your power and those that are not. According to the Stoics, the only things that are truly in our control are our own thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else, external events, the opinions of others, the past, and even certain aspects of our health, are outside of our control. This distinction is crucial because most of our anxiety, stress, and frustration comes from trying to control things that are fundamentally beyond our influence. For example, imagine you're stuck in traffic on the way to an important meeting. You can't control the traffic or how fast it moves, but you can control your response to it. You could choose to get upset and stressed, or you could accept the situation, take a deep breath, and perhaps use the extra time to listen to an audiobook or practice mindfulness. By focusing only on what you can control, you free yourself from unnecessary worry and suffering. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to what's happening around you, but rather that you approach life with a sense of clarity and perspective. When you let go of trying to control the uncontrollable, you can direct your energy toward things that actually matter, like how you respond to challenges, how you treat others, and how you cultivate your own character. Another example of this principle in action is dealing with the opinions of others. Many people waste a great deal of time and energy trying to control how they are perceived by others. However, the Stoics remind us that we cannot control other people's thoughts or actions. What we can control is our own behavior, and whether or not we act in accordance with our values. If you live in a way that is true to your principles, it doesn't matter what others think of you. Their opinions are outside your control and therefore not worth worrying about. Practicing this lesson can be liberating because it reduces the amount of mental clutter in your life. When faced with a difficult situation, you can simply ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then there's no need to waste energy on it. If the answer is yes, you can take constructive action. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice and self-awareness to consistently apply this principle. The Stoics suggest reflecting on this idea daily. One effective method is journaling. Write down the things that are currently causing you stress or anxiety and then categorize them. Are they within your control, or are they outside of it? By regularly doing this exercise, you train yourself to let go of what you can't control and focus on what you can. Lesson 2. Embrace adversity as an opportunity. The Stoics believe that adversity is not something to be feared or avoided, but rather something to be embraced as a natural part of life that offers tremendous opportunities for growth and self-improvement. This lesson is central to Stoic philosophy, which teaches that it is through challenges that we develop our strength of character, resilience, and wisdom. At first glance, this might seem counterintuitive. Most people instinctively shy away from difficulties, seeking comfort and ease. But the Stoics took a different approach. They viewed obstacles as necessary for developing virtues like courage, patience, and perseverance. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, said, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the obstacles we face are not hindrances to our progress. They are the very path to our growth. Let's break this down. Every adversity we encounter in life presents us with two options. We can either view it as something negative and allow it to defeat us, or we can see it as an opportunity to learn, improve, and become stronger. For the Stoics, the latter was always the better choice. This mindset shift is transformative because it reframes the way we approach challenges. Rather than fearing difficulties, we can welcome them as opportunities to test our character and refine our skills. Consider the example of athletes. They don't become stronger by lifting lighter weights. They improve by constantly challenging their limits with heavier weights. In much the same way, life's adversities are like those heavier weights, pushing us beyond our comfort zones, forcing us to grow. The more we embrace adversity, the more resilient and capable we become in dealing with future challenges. Stoicism also teaches us that adversity reveals who we really are. When everything is going smoothly, it's easy to maintain composure and act virtuously. However, when faced with hardship, our true nature comes to the surface. Adversity tests our ability to remain calm, rational, and kind under pressure. It's easy to be patient when life is easy, but real patience is demonstrated when things aren't going our way. Through adversity, we get the chance to prove both to ourselves and others what kind of person we are. Moreover, Stoics believe that adversity provides an opportunity to practice acceptance and inner fortitude. In life, there will always be situations beyond our control. We can't prevent many of the difficulties we face, but we can control how we respond to them. Adversity gives us the chance to practice accepting life's uncertainties with grace and resilience. By facing challenges head-on, we develop the mental toughness to remain steadfast in the face of hardship. This doesn't mean that Stoicism teaches us to seek out suffering or to be indifferent to pain. Rather, it's about adopting a mindset that allows us to handle life's inevitable hardships without being overwhelmed by them. By seeing adversity as a natural part of life, we reduce its power to cause us unnecessary distress. We accept that challenges are inevitable, and instead of resisting them, we focus on how we can use them to grow stronger. Another key aspect of this Stoic lesson is understanding that adversity helps us develop empathy and compassion for others. When we've been through difficult times ourselves, we're better able to relate to and support others who are experiencing similar hardships. Adversity gives us the perspective to appreciate life's blessings and the humility to recognize that everyone faces their own struggles. Lesson 3. Practice mindfulness of death, memento mori. One of the most profound and transformative lessons in Stoicism is the practice of memento mori, which translates to, remember that you will die. While this might sound morbid at first, it is, in fact, a powerful tool for living a meaningful and intentional life. The Stoics believed that regularly contemplating our mortality leads to greater appreciation of life, more focus on what truly matters, and a deeper sense of purpose. In modern society, death is often a taboo subject, something people try to avoid thinking about. However, the Stoics took the opposite approach. They embraced the reality of death and saw it as a reminder to live fully in the present. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the brevity of life, urging himself to think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. This perspective shifts the focus from fearing death to using it as a motivator to make the most of our limited time on Earth. Why is this practice so powerful? First, it helps us clarify our priorities. When we truly understand that our time is finite, we become less likely to waste it on trivial matters. How often do we get caught up in petty arguments, material pursuits, or endless distractions? Memento mori reminds us that life is too short for these things. Instead, we should focus on what brings us joy, fulfillment, and connection. We become more intentional with our time, choosing to invest it in meaningful relationships, personal growth, and experiences that enrich our lives. Furthermore, practicing memento mori can significantly reduce anxiety and fear about death itself. The Stoics believed that fearing death is irrational because it is a natural part of life, something that will happen to all of us. Instead of dreading it, they taught that we should accept it with grace and prepare for it by living a virtuous and meaningful life. When you consistently remind yourself of your mortality, death loses its power to paralyze you with fear. You come to understand that while you cannot control when or how you die, you can control how you live. This practice also fosters a greater appreciation for the present moment. When we are constantly rushing through life, caught up in future plans or regrets from the past, we forget to savor the present. Memento mori brings us back to the now, reminding us that today could be our last day. This doesn't mean we should live recklessly, but rather that we should make the most of each moment, whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply enjoying a sunset. We begin to appreciate life's small pleasures with more intensity and gratitude. Another important aspect of memento mori is that it encourages humility. The realization that death comes for everyone, no matter their wealth, status, or accomplishments, is a humbling thought. It reminds us that we are all part of the same human experience and that in the end, we are not as different from one another as we might think. This can foster compassion and a greater sense of connectedness with others. On a practical level, how can we incorporate memento mori into our daily lives? One way is through journaling. You might spend a few minutes each day reflecting on your mortality, asking yourself questions like, if today were my last day, what would I do differently? Or, am I living in alignment with my values and purpose? Another way is to simply remind yourself throughout the day that life is short. This could be as simple as taking a moment to breathe deeply and reflect on the preciousness of life when you feel stressed or overwhelmed. Lesson 4. Detach from external validation. One of the most liberating lessons in Stoicism is the idea that we should not seek validation or approval from external sources. In a world that constantly pushes us to seek approval through social media likes, career accolades, and societal expectations, the Stoics remind us that true contentment comes from within. By detaching ourselves from the need for external validation, we cultivate inner peace, self-confidence, and the ability to live in accordance with our own values rather than the shifting opinions of others. At its core, Stoicism teaches that the only things we truly control are our own thoughts, actions, and judgments. Everything else, other people's opinions, circumstances, outcomes, are beyond our control. When we base our self-worth on how others perceive us, we hand over our power to forces we cannot influence. This is a recipe for anxiety, insecurity, and dissatisfaction. The Stoics urge us to reclaim that power by focusing on what we can control, how we live, and the integrity of our actions. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, offers wise advice on this matter in his Meditations. He reminds us that it is not what others think of us that matters, but how we behave in accordance with our own values. It never ceases to amaze me, he writes, that we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. This insight highlights the paradox that many of us face. We want to be true to ourselves, but we let the opinions of others guide our actions. Detaching from external validation does not mean that we become indifferent to other people or reject social norms completely. Rather, it means that we prioritize our internal compass over external praise. The Stoics believed that living virtuously, through wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, was far more important than winning approval. If you live in alignment with these principles, it doesn't matter whether others recognize your efforts or not. In fact, trying to please everyone is a futile endeavor because opinions are subjective and constantly changing. By focusing on internal validation, we build self-respect. When you know that you are acting with integrity, you develop a strong sense of self-worth that does not depend on external feedback. Imagine the freedom that comes from knowing that your value as a person is not determined by whether people like you, agree with you, or applaud your efforts. This inner confidence allows you to navigate life's challenges with calmness and resilience because you are anchored in your own sense of worth. Additionally, the Stoics teach us that the pursuit of external validation often leads to compromise and self-betrayal. When we crave approval, we are more likely to make decisions that go against our values or that are not in our best interest. We might take on responsibilities that overwhelm us because we want to be seen as dependable, or we might hold back from expressing our true thoughts for fear of judgment. Over time, these compromises chip away at our authenticity and can leave us feeling disconnected from who we truly are. Learning to detach from external validation also brings more peace to our relationships. When we no longer depend on others to affirm our worth, we become less reactive to criticism and more open to feedback. We can engage with others from a place of calmness and curiosity, without the need to prove ourselves or protect our egos. This improves our interactions with others, allowing for more genuine and balanced relationships. How can we start practicing this Stoic lesson in our daily lives? Begin by paying attention to how much of your behavior is driven by a desire for approval. When you make decisions, ask yourself, am I doing this because it aligns with my values, or because I want to be liked or admired? Over time, practice shifting your focus to what feels true and right for you, regardless of how others respond. Additionally, spend time each day reflecting on your own actions and choices. Build self-awareness by asking yourself, did I act according to my principles today? Rather than, did others notice or praise my efforts? Lesson 5. Cultivate gratitude daily. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating inner peace, contentment, and resilience in the Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that by appreciating what we have and focusing on the positives in our lives, we can transform our mindset and experience greater joy, even in the midst of life's challenges. In a world that constantly pushes us to seek more success, more possessions, more recognition, the practice of daily gratitude is a radical way to ground ourselves in the present and find fulfillment with what we already have. At the heart of Stoic gratitude is the understanding that much of what we experience is beyond our control. The Stoics taught that we should accept the world as it is and appreciate the good that exists in it, rather than constantly longing for more. By focusing on what is within our reach and learning to value even the smallest blessings, we can maintain a sense of tranquility and satisfaction. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on gratitude as a practice that helps us recognize the value of life's everyday gifts. He wrote, "Don't set your mind on things you don't possess, but count the blessings you actually possess and think how much you would desire them if they weren't already yours." This perspective shift is key. Instead of yearning for things you don't have, focus on what is already in your life and imagine how fortunate you are to have those things, whether it's good health, meaningful relationships, or even just a peaceful moment to yourself. Gratitude, in the Stoic sense, isn't limited to celebrating life's big achievements or fortunate circumstances. It also involves recognizing the value in challenges and hardships. This doesn't mean pretending that difficulties aren't hard, but rather understanding that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth. The Stoics taught that everything that happens, whether we label it good or bad, is ultimately useful in shaping our character. By being grateful even for setbacks, we develop resilience and learn to face life's difficulties with a sense of purpose. Another important aspect of Stoic gratitude is practicing acceptance. When we resist what happens to us, wishing things were different or constantly comparing our circumstances to others, we create unnecessary suffering. The Stoics encourage us to practice gratitude for the life we are living right now, rather than always chasing an idealized future. By accepting our present circumstances, we reduce the power of external events to disturb our inner peace. This doesn't mean we stop striving for improvement, but it does mean that we find contentment in the journey, not just the destination. The benefits of gratitude extend far beyond mental and emotional well-being. Modern scientific research supports what the Stoics knew centuries ago. Practicing gratitude has been shown to improve physical health, strengthen relationships, and reduce stress. When we focus on what we're grateful for, we shift our attention away from negativity and create a positive feedback loop that reinforces our sense of well-being. So, how can you cultivate gratitude daily in your life? One simple and effective method is to start a gratitude journal. Every day, take a few moments to write down 3 things you're grateful for. These can be big or small, anything from a delicious meal to a supportive conversation with a friend. Over time, this practice trains your mind to focus on the positives, helping you build a habit of gratitude. Another practice is to express gratitude directly to the people in your life. Whether it's through a kind word, a thoughtful message, or a simple thank you. Letting others know that you appreciate them strengthens your relationships and fosters a sense of connection. Lastly, when you face a difficult situation, pause and reflect on what lesson or opportunity it might offer. While it may be hard to feel grateful in the moment, this practice of finding value in adversity helps you develop a Stoic mindset that sees every experience as part of the path to growth. Lesson 6. Live according to nature. The Stoics believed that to live a fulfilling and virtuous life, we must align ourselves with nature, both the nature of the universe and our own human nature. This core Stoic teaching, live according to nature, encourages us to understand and accept the natural order of the world while living in harmony with our inner nature, which includes reason, virtue, and a sense of purpose. But what does it mean to live according to nature? First, it's essential to understand that for the Stoics, nature isn't just about the environment or the physical world. It's also about how the universe operates, including the roles we play within it. The Stoics saw the universe as an interconnected system governed by reason and rational laws. They believed that human beings, as part of this system, are meant to live in accordance with these natural laws. When we align our thoughts and actions with nature, we find peace and fulfillment. One of the most significant aspects of living according to nature is accepting things as they are. The Stoics understood that much of life is beyond our control: birth, death, illness, the actions of others, and many other external events. Rather than resisting the natural flow of life, the Stoics encourage us to embrace it. This is where the famous Stoic practice of amor fati, or love of fate, comes into play. It's not enough to simply accept what happens to us. We must actively embrace it, understanding that everything that occurs is part of the natural order. By doing so, we reduce suffering caused by resistance and cultivate inner peace. Living according to nature also means recognizing and fulfilling our role as rational beings. The Stoics believed that humans are unique in that we possess reason, and it is this rational nature that separates us from other creatures. Therefore, a key part of living in harmony with our nature is using our reason to guide our actions and decisions. Reason enables us to discern right from wrong, make thoughtful choices, and live virtuously. When we act irrationally, by letting emotions like anger or fear take control, we are acting against our nature, which leads to inner turmoil and discontent. Moreover, living according to nature involves understanding our connection to others. The Stoics believed that all humans are part of a larger community, bound by shared humanity and a common purpose. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations here, wrote, "We are all working together toward one common purpose, some with knowledge and understanding, others without it." This sense of interconnectedness reminds us that we are not isolated individuals but part of a larger whole. By living virtuously and considering the welfare of others, we contribute to the greater good of humanity, which is a fundamental aspect of our natural purpose. Another important element of living according to nature is moderation. The Stoics taught that we should avoid excess in all areas of life, whether it be material possessions, pleasure, or even emotions. Temperance, one of the 4 Stoic virtues, encourages us to find balance and not be swayed by extreme desires or indulgences. This doesn't mean denying ourselves pleasures entirely, but rather enjoying them in moderation and without attachment. By maintaining this balance, we remain grounded and focused on what truly matters: our character and our pursuit of virtue. Finally, living according to nature means accepting impermanence. Everything in life is in a constant state of change, and the Stoics remind us that nothing lasts forever. Whether it's our relationships, possessions, or even our own lives, all things will eventually come to an end. By recognizing this truth, we can learn to let go of attachment and live more fully in the present. The awareness of impermanence helps us appreciate life's fleeting moments and prioritize what is truly meaningful. Lesson 7. Practice voluntary discomfort. One of the most distinctive lessons in Stoicism is the practice of voluntary discomfort. This involves intentionally exposing ourselves to discomfort or hardship in small, controlled ways to build resilience, strengthen our character, and appreciate the comforts we often take for granted. The Stoics believed that by practicing discomfort, we become better equipped to handle life's inevitable challenges, developing a stronger mental and emotional fortitude. The philosopher Seneca famously wrote about practicing voluntary discomfort in his letters, encouraging people to set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress. He advised people to question themselves, "Is this what I feared?" The idea behind this practice is that by occasionally living without luxuries and facing mild discomfort, we can reduce our fear of losing them and train ourselves to be less attached to material wealth, comfort, and external conditions. The Stoics recognize that much of our anxiety and dissatisfaction in life stems from our fear of discomfort or deprivation. We fear losing our jobs, our status, our possessions, or our relationships because we believe that without these things we will suffer greatly. However, by deliberately practicing voluntary discomfort, we can confront these fears head-on and realize that we are more capable than we think. We learn that we can live happily with less and that our happiness is not entirely dependent on external factors. For example, fasting for a day, walking instead of driving, or taking a cold shower are all simple ways to practice voluntary discomfort. These acts may seem minor, but they have a powerful psychological effect. They teach us self-discipline, remind us of our resilience, and help us build mental toughness. In addition, when we regularly practice voluntary discomfort, we become more adaptable and less likely to panic when we encounter real hardships, such as financial struggles, health problems, or relationship issues. We train ourselves to endure and thrive in less than ideal circumstances. Voluntary discomfort also cultivates gratitude. In our daily lives, it's easy to become so accustomed to comfort and convenience that we start taking them for granted. By voluntarily stepping outside of our comfort zone, we are reminded of how fortunate we are to have access to basic needs like food, shelter, and warmth. After a period of fasting, for example, even a simple meal can feel like a luxury. This heightened sense of appreciation enriches our lives, making us more mindful of the abundance we already have. The practice of voluntary discomfort aligns with the Stoic virtue of temperance, living in moderation, and avoiding excessive indulgence. Stoicism teaches us that seeking constant pleasure and comfort can make us weak, dependent, and easily disturbed when things don't go our way. By practicing moderation and exposing ourselves to discomfort in small doses, we avoid becoming overly attached to comforts and pleasures. Instead, we learn to enjoy them when they come, but not be distressed when they are absent. Moreover, this practice challenges the common societal belief that happiness comes from avoiding discomfort and maximizing pleasure. The Stoics argue that true happiness and inner peace come from resilience, self-control, and contentment with what we have. When we voluntarily endure discomfort, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of handling adversity and that we don't need external luxuries to be fulfilled. Lesson 8. Maintain a journal of self-reflection. One of the key practices the Stoics advocated for was the habit of daily self-reflection through journaling. This practice helps cultivate mindfulness, improve decision-making, and align actions with values. For the Stoics, self-reflection wasn't just a philosophical exercise. It was a vital tool for personal growth and for living a life of virtue. By maintaining a journal of self-reflection, we can better understand our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, allowing us to live with greater intentionality and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and a central figure in Stoicism, is perhaps the most famous example of this practice. His personal writings, compiled in Meditations, offer a window into his daily self-reflection. He would examine his actions, thoughts, and responses to the events of the day, asking himself how well he lived according to Stoic principles. This process of reflection helped him stay grounded, focused, and virtuous, despite the enormous pressures of ruling an empire. But why is self-reflection so important? In our fast-paced world, we often move from one task to another without stopping to think about the motivations behind our actions or the impact of our decisions. Self-reflection allows us to pause and evaluate our behavior, asking ourselves whether we are living in alignment with our values. Are we being kind, courageous, wise, and self-disciplined? Or are we letting external pressures, emotions, or impulses guide our actions? Regular reflection through journaling provides the opportunity to assess our progress and make adjustments where necessary. Journaling also promotes self-awareness, which is crucial for personal growth. When we write about our experiences, we gain insight into our patterns of thought and behavior. We can identify areas where we tend to react impulsively or irrationally, and we can learn to respond more thoughtfully in the future. By writing about our emotions and challenges, we gain clarity on what drives us and what holds us back. This self-awareness enables us to approach life with greater mindfulness and intentionality, helping us make better choices. Additionally, keeping a journal of self-reflection encourages accountability. When we document our thoughts, goals, and progress, we create a record of our personal journey. This makes it easier to track our growth and recognize patterns of behavior that may need improvement. For example, if you notice that you frequently react with anger in certain situations, journaling about those instances can help you understand the triggers and guide you in managing your reactions better. Over time, you can look back at your entries and see how far you've come, reinforcing your commitment to self-improvement. Another benefit of journaling is that it provides a safe space for introspection and emotional processing. Life's challenges can often feel overwhelming, and writing about them helps you organize your thoughts and emotions. By putting your experiences into words, you create distance between yourself and the situation, which can lead to a more objective perspective. This process can be incredibly therapeutic and can help reduce anxiety, stress, and negative emotions. The Stoics also believe that journaling fosters gratitude. As you reflect on your day, you are encouraged to acknowledge not only the challenges, but also the positive moments and lessons. This habit helps you cultivate a mindset of appreciation for the small victories, the support of others, and the opportunities for growth. Gratitude journaling aligns with Stoic teachings on focusing on what you can control and finding joy in life's simple, everyday blessings. How can you start incorporating journaling into your daily life? Set aside a few minutes at the end of each day to reflect on how you lived that day. Ask yourself questions such as, did I live according to my values? What did I learn today? How can I improve tomorrow? Write honestly and without judgment, using the journal as a tool for growth, not perfection. Lesson 9. Remember that emotions are temporary. In Stoicism, one of the essential lessons is the recognition that emotions are fleeting and temporary. While the Stoics never suggested suppressing or ignoring emotions, they emphasized the importance of understanding their transient nature and learning to manage them through reason and self-awareness. By recognizing that emotions come and go, we can maintain inner peace and avoid being swept away by impulsive reactions or destructive feelings. At the heart of this Stoic teaching is the idea that emotions are natural human responses to external events, but do not have to control our actions. The Stoics believed that emotions arise from our judgments and perceptions of situations rather than the situations themselves. In other words, it's not what happens to us that stirs our emotions, but how we interpret those events. As Epictetus famously stated, men are disturbed not by things but by the views which they take of them. Understanding this gives us the power to manage our emotional responses more effectively. When we face stressful or challenging situations, emotions like anger, fear, or sadness can arise almost instantly. However, the Stoics remind us that these emotional surges are temporary. If we pause and allow time for reflection, the intensity of these feelings will diminish. Instead of acting impulsively in the heat of the moment, we can practice patience and observe the emotion without being consumed by it. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This strength comes from our ability to recognize that we can choose how to respond, even when emotions seem overwhelming. Understanding the impermanence of emotions helps us avoid being enslaved by them. When we recognize that feelings like anger, frustration, or fear are transient, we are less likely to make rash decisions that we might later regret. The Stoics advocated for pausing when emotions run high and reflecting on whether our emotional response aligns with reason and virtue. By doing so, we prevent emotions from dictating our behavior and instead act in accordance with our values. This practice of reflection is central to Stoic philosophy and can help us maintain a sense of calm even in difficult circumstances. Additionally, acknowledging the temporary nature of emotions allows us to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs with greater ease. Life is full of moments of joy, sadness, excitement, and disappointment, but none of these emotions lasts forever. When we experience intense emotions, whether positive or negative, Stoicism teaches us to remember that they will pass. This perspective helps us stay grounded, appreciating the good moments without becoming overly attached, and weathering the bad moments without being overwhelmed. By viewing emotions as temporary, we also cultivate greater resilience. When difficult emotions arise, we can remind ourselves that they are fleeting, much like passing clouds. This mindset empowers us to face challenges with a clear mind, knowing that emotions, however intense they may feel in the moment, will eventually fade. We become less reactive and more capable of responding to situations with clarity and composure. One practical method the Stoics used to manage emotions was to practice reframing their thoughts. When faced with an emotion like anger, they would pause and ask themselves whether their interpretation of the situation was rational. Is the event truly as bad as it seems, or am I allowing my emotions to distort my perception? By shifting the way we think about a situation, we can reduce the emotional intensity and gain a more balanced perspective. Lesson 10. Be present in each moment. One of the central tenets of Stoic philosophy is the importance of living fully in the present moment. The Stoics believed that much of human suffering arises from our tendency to dwell on the past or worry about the future. By focusing on the here and now, we can live more intentionally, make better decisions, and experience a deeper sense of contentment and peace. Lesson 10 in Stoicism teaches us to embrace the present, knowing that it is the only time we truly have. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often emphasized the importance of being present. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This simple but profound instruction reflects a key Stoic insight. Life is a series of present moments, and the past and future exist only in our minds. When we live in the present, we engage with reality as it is, rather than being distracted by regrets about what has already happened or anxiety about what might happen. This allows us to act with clarity and purpose. One of the greatest challenges to being present is the human tendency to ruminate on the past. We often replay past events in our minds, wondering what we could have done differently or how things might have turned out if we had made different choices. However, Stoicism teaches that the past is beyond our control, and no amount of dwelling on it can change what has already happened. The Stoics urge us to accept the past as it is, and to focus instead on what we can do in the present. By letting go of regrets, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional baggage and create space for growth and action. Similarly, worrying about the future can prevent us from living fully in the present. Many people spend a significant amount of time imagining worst-case scenarios or fearing outcomes that may never come to pass. The Stoics remind us that the future is uncertain and largely out of our control. Instead of trying to predict or control it, they encourage us to prepare for it by making the most of the present moment. By focusing on what we can do right now, we not only reduce anxiety but also set ourselves up for a better future through deliberate, meaningful action. Being present also helps us appreciate life's small, everyday moments. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to become so preoccupied with goals and tasks that we forget to enjoy the simple pleasures around us. Whether it's a quiet morning cup of coffee, a meaningful conversation with a friend, or a walk in nature, being fully present allows us to savor these experiences and find joy in the moment. The Stoics believed that happiness isn't found in grand achievements or distant goals, but in living each moment fully and intentionally. Another key aspect of being present is mindfulness. The Stoics practiced a form of mindfulness by paying close attention to their thoughts, actions, and surroundings. They believed that by staying aware of what we are doing and why we are doing it, we can ensure that our actions are aligned with our values and that we are living virtuously. This mindfulness helps us avoid acting out of habit or impulse, allowing us to make conscious choices that reflect our best selves. To cultivate presence, the Stoics often practiced daily reflection and meditation. They would take time each day to reflect on their actions, asking themselves if they had lived in accordance with their principles and whether they had been fully present in their interactions and decisions. This practice not only helped them stay grounded in the present moment, but also provided them with insights into how they could improve in the future. Lesson 11. Let go of attachment to outcomes. One of the most liberating lessons in Stoicism is the idea of letting go of attachment to outcomes. This concept, while simple in theory, can be challenging to put into practice. The Stoics teach that while we can control our actions and intentions, the results of those actions are often beyond our control. By releasing our attachment to specific outcomes, we free ourselves from unnecessary anxiety, disappointment, and frustration, enabling us to focus on what truly matters: our effort, our character, and our ability to respond to life's challenges with resilience. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of focusing on what we can control, and this principle is closely tied to the lesson of letting go of outcomes. According to the Stoics, the only things we have complete control over are our own thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else, other people's opinions, external events, and the results of our actions, falls outside our sphere of control. When we attach ourselves to the outcome of our efforts, we become vulnerable to disappointment because we're placing our happiness and sense of success in the hands of forces beyond our influence. Epictetus, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, often spoke about this concept. He said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well. This advice encourages us to embrace reality as it is, rather than wishing for things to turn out in a particular way. When we accept that outcomes are beyond our control, we shift our focus to what we can control: the effort we put into the task, our dedication, and our attitude toward whatever results may come. By detaching from outcomes, we also cultivate a greater sense of inner peace. Much of the stress and anxiety we experience comes from worrying about how things will turn out. Whether it's a job interview, a project at work, or a relationship, the fear of failure or disappointment can weigh heavily on our minds. Stoicism teaches us that by focusing on our efforts and letting go of the need for a specific result, we can reduce this mental burden. Instead of being preoccupied with success or failure, we can take pride in the fact that we gave our best, regardless of the outcome. Letting go of outcomes doesn't mean we stop setting goals or striving for excellence. In fact, the Stoics were proponents of working diligently and pursuing our goals with purpose. However, they emphasized that while we should give our best effort, we must remain unattached to the results. This distinction allows us to stay motivated and disciplined without being emotionally tied to the outcome. Whether we succeed or fail in achieving a particular goal, what matters most is the process, the learning, growth, and integrity we demonstrate along the way. Moreover, detaching from outcomes allows us to bounce back more easily from setbacks. When we are fixated on achieving a specific result, any deviation from that plan can feel devastating. But when we approach life with the understanding that outcomes are not entirely within our control, we become more adaptable and resilient. If things don't go as planned, we can accept the situation and find a new way forward without being consumed by disappointment or regret. Another benefit of this Stoic lesson is that it helps us build a stronger sense of self-worth. When we tie our value to outcomes, such as winning an award, getting a promotion, or gaining external recognition, we base our worth on things we cannot control. But when we focus on the effort we put into living virtuously and doing our best, we cultivate a sense of self-worth that is independent of external success or failure. Lesson 12. Practice empathy and compassion. While Stoicism is often associated with self-discipline, rationality, and resilience, an equally important aspect of Stoic philosophy is the practice of empathy and compassion. The Stoics believed that we are all interconnected, part of a larger human community, and that our well-being is tied to the well-being of others. Lesson 12 emphasizes the importance of showing kindness, understanding, and compassion to those around us, recognizing our shared humanity and the common struggles we all face. One of the fundamental principles of Stoicism is the idea that we are all part of a larger whole. The Stoics viewed the world as an interconnected system, where each individual plays a role in contributing to the greater good. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the idea of interconnectedness. He wrote, "We are all working together to one end, some with knowledge and design, and others without it." This recognition of our shared purpose leads to the Stoic belief that practicing empathy and compassion is not just a moral duty, but an essential part of living in harmony with the world around us. To the Stoics, compassion means understanding that others, like ourselves, are subject to the same challenges, fears, and emotions. While we might appear different in terms of background, status, or circumstances, we all share the same fundamental experiences as human beings. Understanding this commonality allows us to approach others with kindness and patience, recognizing that we, too, have our own struggles. This Stoic approach to empathy is rooted in the idea that our judgments about others should be tempered by the understanding that no one is perfect, and that everyone is doing the best they can within the context of their own experiences and knowledge. Empathy in Stoicism is not simply about feeling for others. It also involves taking positive action to support and help them. The Stoics believed that living virtuously meant striving to improve the lives of those around us. Whether through a kind word, a helping hand, or simply listening, Stoicism teaches us that small acts of compassion contribute to the well-being of the community. Seneca, another key Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively about the importance of kindness and helping others. He argued that practicing generosity and compassion was not only a duty, but also a source of joy and fulfillment. Moreover, empathy and compassion are closely linked to the Stoic practice of understanding that we cannot control others' actions, only our responses to them. When people behave in ways that frustrate or upset us, Stoicism teaches us to respond with patience and understanding, rather than anger or judgment. This doesn't mean that we condone harmful behavior, but it does mean recognizing that everyone makes mistakes, and we can choose to respond with empathy instead of allowing anger to control our reactions. By responding compassionately, we create more harmonious relationships and avoid unnecessary conflict. Practicing empathy also involves the Stoic principle of seeing things from another person's perspective. Marcus Aurelius encouraged this practice by suggesting that we always keep in mind that all rational beings are fellow creatures, and that to care for all men is according to man's nature. When we take the time to understand someone else's viewpoint or experiences, we become more patient and less quick to judge. This perspective-taking leads to greater emotional intelligence, helping us to navigate complex social situations with grace and understanding. Finally, empathy and compassion are key to creating a more just and fair society. Stoicism teaches that we should treat everyone with fairness, regardless of their status or position in life. By recognizing the inherent dignity of every person, we can contribute to a more equitable world. The Stoics believed that true happiness and fulfillment come not from selfish pursuits, but from contributing to the greater good and living in alignment with the common welfare of all. Lesson 13. Aim for progress, not perfection. One of the most practical and empowering lessons in Stoicism is the idea of striving for progress, not perfection. The Stoics recognize that perfection is an unattainable goal for humans, who are inherently flawed and subject to the challenges and uncertainties of life. Instead of fixating on being perfect, Stoicism encourages us to focus on making steady improvements, cultivating self-awareness, and embracing the journey of personal growth. At its core, this lesson teaches us to be patient with ourselves and to acknowledge that growth is a continuous process. Seneca, the Roman philosopher, advised, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." In this, Seneca emphasizes that growth is achieved through struggle, mistakes, and setbacks. The Stoics understood that progress comes through practice and persistence, not through the unrealistic expectation of perfection. By accepting this, we reduce the pressure we place on ourselves and allow space for gradual improvement. Aiming for progress rather than perfection also helps us maintain a healthier and more balanced perspective on our personal development. In modern society, we are often conditioned to believe that we must excel in every aspect of life, whether it's our careers, relationships, or physical appearance. This relentless pursuit of perfection can lead to feelings of inadequacy, frustration, and self-doubt. The Stoics, however, remind us that growth is a lifelong journey, and it's okay to be imperfect. What matters is that we are constantly moving forward, even if the steps are small. Moreover, the Stoic approach to progress encourages self-compassion. When we accept that perfection is impossible, we become more forgiving of our mistakes and shortcomings. Instead of berating ourselves for not meeting unrealistic standards, we can reflect on our efforts, learn from our failures, and continue striving for improvement. This mindset not only reduces unnecessary stress, but also promotes resilience, as we learn to bounce back from setbacks with a constructive attitude rather than self-criticism. Marcus Aurelius advised, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This focus on the small victories and the opportunities for growth helps us maintain a positive outlook on life. Another benefit of aiming for progress is that it helps us stay grounded in reality. Perfection is often tied to idealized, unattainable standards that are out of touch with the complexities of life. Whether in our work, personal development, or relationships, the pursuit of perfection can lead to frustration when things don't go as planned. The Stoics teach us to remain flexible and adaptable, focusing on the process rather than obsessing over the outcome. When we let go of the need for perfection, we become more open to learning from our experiences and adjusting our course as needed. This lesson also highlights the importance of embracing imperfection in others. Just as we are on a journey of progress, so too are the people around us. Recognizing that everyone is imperfect fosters greater empathy and patience in our relationships. Instead of expecting perfection from others, we can appreciate their efforts and support them in their growth, creating more harmonious and compassionate connections. One practical way to implement this lesson is through reflection and goal setting. Rather than setting unrealistic goals that demand immediate perfection, we can focus on setting smaller, achievable milestones that reflect progress. By tracking these milestones, we can see our growth over time and celebrate our improvements, no matter how modest they may seem. Journaling, a common Stoic practice, is a helpful tool for reflecting on our progress, identifying areas for growth, and setting intentions for continued development. The Stoic lessons we've explored offer timeless wisdom for living a more intentional, resilient, and fulfilling life. From focusing on what you can control, to embracing adversity, practicing gratitude, and letting go of attachment to outcomes, these principles guide us toward becoming better versions of ourselves. Stoicism teaches that life's challenges are not obstacles but opportunities for growth, and by adopting these lessons, we can navigate life with greater clarity, purpose, and inner peace. Whether you're just beginning your Stoic journey or deepening your practice, remember that the key to Stoicism is in the daily application of these teachings. Progress, not perfection, is what matters. Each day provides new chances to practice mindfulness, compassion, resilience, and self-awareness. The Stoics remind us that we don't have to be perfect. What's important is that we strive to improve, learn from our mistakes, and grow with each passing moment. If you found these lessons helpful, take a moment to reflect on which one resonated with you the most and how you can apply it in your life. Start small, stay consistent, and watch as these teachings begin to transform your mindset and your approach to life's challenges. To stay connected with more content on Stoicism and self-improvement, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Stoic Mastery channel. By subscribing, you'll join a community of like-minded individuals dedicated to mastering the art of living. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Let us know in the comments below which Stoic lesson you're planning to implement today.